Coming to you live from the Nema Outpost. It's the Movie Changeup podcast Drinkalong edition. We didn't have a normal episode this week, so we're going to give you two Drinkalongs. They'll probably be a little delayed. This one probably not going up until Saturday night, and I'll probably delay The Last Jedi until Sunday. But yeah, if you've seen our drink-alongs before, it's what we're doing. We're having another one. This one's for The Force Awakens. Our next one will be for The Last Jedi. And then in about a week, we'll be doing one for The Rise of Skywalker. So be ready to check those out. I should definitely make sure I unmute Tristan's mic, so if he happens to talk, you can actually hear him. That would be very bad if you couldn't. So yeah, if you haven't seen any Star Wars before, this is not the show for you, because we're going to be talking as if you've basically seen all of Star Wars, because I don't want to have to censor myself. I'm in the middle of a chronological watch through. This is why we're watching The Force Awakens. So I've seen every short, every TV episode, every movie leading up from The Phantom Menace all the way now to The Force Awakens. There's 340 total, and I'm right around the 315, 320 mark. I'm not 100% sure. I basically have this, The Last Jedi, and then season 2 of Resistance and The Rise of Skywalker. But
You're almost there, Joe. I can't
yeah,
believe it. That's the journey. I did that journey before Rise of Skywalker came out, so I know you struggle. But yeah, I haven't seen these sequels. Well, I've seen them a handful of times since they've come out, but I haven't watched them since Rise of Skywalker, so it's going to be a handful of years since I've seen any of these movies, so I'm looking forward to watching them. And yeah, the opinions are very divided on all three of these movies at this point, so it's going to be fun to revisit them and see your take on certain scenes and certain elements, especially as you've now watched the entire saga, and you can give me some more insight into how things might hold together more than I thought they did.
yeah. One thing too is I'm gonna try to stick mainly to this trilogy when I talk, because afterwards, when I finish everything, Tristan and I are gonna do an episode where I basically talk about my entire journey of all of Star Wars. Of what do I think connect, what do I think didn't disconnect, what did I learn, where I think they could improve on, things I still want to see from this era. Because the number one thing I think Star Wars should definitely do is try to get away from this 60-year time period, but I think there are some gaps they need to fill before they completely abandon this time period, which I don't think they'll ever 100% completely abandon it. Tristan, two questions for you. Question number one, what are you drinking? This is a drink along. Question number two, based on what you remember of your previous viewings, where would you rank this out of 10?
Yeah, as this is a drink along, and I'm trying to get through my Halloween drinks. So I still have quite a lot of them left over. So I'm drinking right now the Smash Pumpkin from Shipyard. You can't really see it well, but Smash Pumpkin. It tastes like a Smash Pumpkin. You know, I love that pumpkin spice, and I'm not quite ready to get rid of it yet. Even though it's December, I'm still living the pumpkin spice life, and I'm drinking out of my Club 33 cup from Disneyland. So I'm all Star Wars out. I'm ready to go.
All right.
And yeah, as for the ranking of this one, when I watched it the first time it came out, I was convinced it was my favorite Star Wars movie, and it had all the things I loved about it, the legacy, and also the kind of larger than life kind of operatic stakes to everything. And as the sequel to this trilogy went on, it kind of wore thin on me and kind of started to fall off as things that this movie set up didn't quite seem to pay off for me in my mind. So I'm curious on a rewatch if this will improve a lot for me or if it'll go down a lot for me, because right now it's in the top tier of Star Wars, but it's not. It's probably like my number 3 or number 4 right now.
That's respectable. I think it's probably my number 3 overall. I think doing the chronological rewatch has affected some of my viewings. A New Hope was my favorite Star Wars movie, but because at that point in time, because it's the first ever Star Wars thing, they didn't really know what Star Wars was yet, so there's a lot of things that don't really fully connect, and I'll talk about that later in my kind of Star Wars wrap-up conversation. But yeah, it's dropped a little bit, so I think Return of the Jedi has taken over as my number 1, and I think A New Hope still is probably my number 2, and I think this would probably be my number 3. And a lot of people
For
are
me,
crying sacrilege because of The Empire Strikes Back, but I will say I think a lot of the reasons people like The Empire Strikes Back is because it sets up what eventually pays off in Return of the Jedi, and I think it's kind of what everyone knows happens in Return of the Jedi is why people like Empire Strikes Back. Not that Empire Strikes Back is bad. I love it, but I just like other movies more.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch this one. For me, I would put Last Jedi a step above this one for me, and the way it took a lot of what's set up here and twisted it a bit, similar to how Empire did for New Hope. So I'm excited to watch this again. And yeah, for me, Last Jedi is above this one. So if I was going to rank the sequels, it would be Last Jedi, Force Awakens, and then about a mile down beneath all those is going to be Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, to me, it's Force. To me, it's in order of release: Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and then Rise of Skywalker number 3. Not as far below as you, but there is a bigger gap between. There is a much bigger gap between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker than there is between Force Awakens and the Last Jedi. Before we start the movie, we have 4 rules. As always for a drink along. This time we changed it up a little bit. So for the first rule, every time they say resistance, one of us will drink, and every time they say first order, the other one will drink. And we've determined, and we will determine that later before the movie starts. I have a plan of how we will determine that, but I will do that after I finish reading the rules. Rule number 2, every time they say force, we drink. Every time Chewbacca talks, we're going to drink. And every time there's a callback to something that happened previously, we drink. Whether it's a visual reference, an homage, or even a line that talks about something that happened in a previous movie, we're going to drink. And
Something tells me that's going to break us on this one.
yeah, and we should have included every time there's a reference to the Beastie Boys in here, we should drink. Because J.J. Abrams did stick a lot of Beastie Boys reference. Even everyone's favorite droid BB-8 is a Beastie Boys reference. Beastie Boys BB, who released 8 albums. And so, to determine who's going to drink what, I have decided to ask Tristan, who does not know what the first word of the crawl is, and I'm not counting Star Wars episode, the title. I'm talking about the actual information. Do you think it starts with a letter A through M, or A B C D E F G H I J K M L L? Do you think it's A through L or M through Z?
A through L or M through Z? I'm trying to think of memories of what it could be. Some of the Star Wars words. I'm going to go with A through L.
A through L? Alright, well, if you are correct, you will get your choice of Resistance or First Order, and if you are wrong, I will get to choose Resistance or First Order. And I'm ready to hit play if you are.
I'm ready to play, Joe. Let's do it.
Because I
We
know
got
what the
two and a
first
half
word
hours
is.
almost ahead of us.
Because I know what the first word is, and you're probably going to kick yourself when you see it. Oh, I hit play. Never mind. Did you hit play?
I did not hit play.
I did. That was a mistake. All right, so we're hitting play in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play.
Classic Lucasfilm logo right up on the screen there.
Lucasfilm. Oh, yours says Lucasfilm. Mine says Marvel. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Basically, it's once upon a time. Star Wars. Any predictions yet on what the first word is? If you had to throw out what you think the first word is.
I'm thinking. You're making me nervous because he's know the word and you're making me think I'm wrong. You know.
Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
But I was thinking possibly Luke Skywalker.
There we go. Luke Skywalker has vanished is the first line. So
look at that. So I got the L.
So you got it right. Do you want Resistance or do you want First Order?
Look, I'm decked out for it. I think I got to go with Resistance. You got
All
the
right.
Empire.
Well, we got
there,
First
so
Order.
We're already
is in the opening crawl, so I'm drinking. Luke Skywalker has vanished. In his absence, the sinister First Order has risen from the ashes of the Empire and will not rest until Skywalker, the Last Jedi, has been destroyed. With the support of the Republic, General Leia Organa leads a brave resistance. Drink. She is desperate to find her brother Luke and gain his help in restoring peace and justice to the galaxy. Leia has sent her most daring pilot on a secret mission to Jakku, where an old ally has discovered a clue to Luke's whereabouts. So, an episode or two in Resistance where I'm watching, Poe Dameron appeared and then left because he had a big important mission that Leia was sending him on. So it's a little tie-in between here and Resistance. But yeah, like I said, I'm mainly just going to try to stick... Tristan can talk about whatever he wants to talk about, and I'll answer any questions he has. But from what I bring up, I'm mainly going to try to stick to this trilogy because I don't want to burn our entire conversation on these drink-alongs.
Yeah, we're going to have a good conversation when we get to the end of that.
I think we're going to have a drink right here off the bat, honestly. Nah, Are we considering this an homage to the opening of the first one? Because it's coming out at a completely different angle. I'm gonna say that's
It's
not a
yeah,
drink.
it's different enough. It's a similar idea, but the shot is totally different.
Yeah. I was thinking for whatever reason it did come across, but as soon as I saw it cut up in front of that planet, I'm like, that's right.
I do remember watching this for the first time, and after so long of build up and so much hype, and there was a lot of mystery. Really didn't know
Yeah, we
much
didn't
about
know
what the
anything
movie was
about
actually
this
going to
movie.
be.
Like, we honestly did not know who the lead was going into this movie, if I
But I
remember right.
remember sitting here like getting chills, being like, "Man, we're actually back!" And like, look, there's BB-8, one of the best droid characters. Look at the detail on that. Like, this just feels like Star Wars back alive. Like,
Yeah.
I was just so immediately grasped, and
Yeah, I
as
think
you get to the characters here too.
this will begin to set things right. Make things right, whatever.
You gotta drink if you get the line wrong.
Yeah. I thought about making that a rule that if you say the line correctly, the other person drinks, but if you get it wrong, you have to drink twice. But I'm like, that's just too complicated. To me,
Yeah,
she's
once you drink too
royalty as
much,
a
I'm not
drink.
gonna remember.
To me, she's royalty as a drink. I will say though, I disagree with a lot of people that this is just like a remake of A New Hope. I think in broad strokes, it is similar to A New Hope. But I think once you get down past the broad strokes, it is a different movie.
Yeah, the bare bones of the premise is New Hope, but not really.
Yeah, like okay, yeah, they have to blow up a thing at the end, but they have to blow up a thing at the end of Phantom Menace 2. So it's like part of it's like, okay, are we just ripping off A New Hope, or are we just making Star Wars here? I've said for a long time, if Jakku was the jungle planet they wanted to go with, like an abandoned like Amazon rainforest that they initially thought about going with, and they had made Starkiller Base just a ship instead of a planet that was like going around, I don't think there would really be the A New Hope comparisons.
Yeah, I
The
think people
aesthetic,
did complain about it being repetitive at the time, but there's just the I guess parts of it are repetitive. The ending I think is the most repetitive part, but I don't think most of this first act is totally. There's nothing like this in the first Star Wars.
yeah. I mean, you have like the map, putting the map in the droid, like Leia putting the message in R2, but like that's nothing that we're seeing now is from A New Hope. And people talk, oh, it didn't bring anything new, but it's like, okay, we have BB-8, we have, Kylo Ren freezing the Thunderbolts, which is something we've never seen before. There is a lot of new in this movie.
Yeah,
That's an homage right here. I'm drinking Poe putting the thing in the droid.
is that an homage or
Kneel
is that
down,
just what
kneel
the
down.
droids do?
No, but kneel down. It's definitely what they were going for. As much as I was just hammering on it not being a ripoff, like that was.
I wasn't unsure if they'd kill Poe Dameron right here. Like, of course, Oscar Isaac is a major actor, but
Well, he was originally supposed to die, right?
yeah, he was not
He
meant to be such a major character. But the fact that they
yeah,
got Oscar Isaac, I think,
he was
made them
supposed
think,
to
okay, let's bring him back.
he was supposed to die in the plane crash, and like Oscar Isaac wasn't exactly what Oscar Isaac is now. That's a drink. FN 2187. We're not going to drink every time they say 2187, but we should drink at least the first time because that is the cell number that Leia is in A New Hope. It's cell number
Oh, I didn't even know
2187.
that.
Yeah, but like even Kylo Ren's ship is new. Um,
So
I forgot what we were talking about. Oh,
they have a
Poe
full
Dameron.
life-size version of the Kylo Ren ship at the Disney World, Galaxy's Edge, so you can go see like this humongous version of the Kylo Ren ship, and they have the Kylo Ren actor come out and do like a walk out like a badass like that, and
Nice.
with stormtroopers.
Yeah, because Oscar Isaac isn't like the big star then he was now. He was basically like this small indie actor, but he was like super well respected, and everyone was like, he's gonna be the next big thing. and he kind of went to JJ. He's like, I die like in all of my movies. Like I want to just not die in one, and so JJ kept him alive, and I think that's kind of what screwed the trilogy moving forward. Is the big three of this trilogy really felt like it was going to be Rey, Finn, and Kylo Ren to kind of shake things up, but then they kept Poe, and it
A lot
kind of
of
just
First Order in this scene.
oh yeah, and it just kind of messed with the dynamic moving forward. Not that I'm like, oh fuck Poe, kill Poe, but
I remember the crowd reacting to that when he had
yeah,
grabbed the lightsaber blast like that.
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
And I
So,
love right from that first conversation, you get like that Shakespearean level dialogue where it's everything is like operatically
mm,
big, and it's like
yeah,
everyone has these ancient histories that are tied to these like long legacies, and
yeah,
these tiny little moments like Finn getting that blood on his helmet is enough to like change the entire course of the galaxy, you know. And this
yeah,
just chance encounter of these two characters that are like major characters.
yeah. So the old man that died, Lord Santeca, played by a famous known actor who I'm completely blanking on right now. He was
Max von Sydow.
yeah Max von Sydow, who's in The Exorcist and a bunch of other movies. Um, so there's this character Corky Kryze in the Clone Wars, who just kind of shows up, and she's the nephew of Satine Kryze, leader of Mandalore, friend of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he calls Satine his aunt, but if you look at his model, he looks like the perfect combination of Obi-Wan and Satine, and it's like revealed that Obi-Wan and Satine had a relationship. My and a lot of people's headcanon is that Corky is not Satine's nephew, but actually the son of her and Obi-Wan. And his story kind of, if you go on his Wikipedia page, just kind of ends around the time of the Clone Wars and no mention of a death or what happens to him afterwards. Now, Lor Santeca, his story kind of begins right around the Clone Wars and no real mention of where he came from or where he started. So my headcanon that's not based on anything is that the character there that we saw, Lor Santeca, is actually Corky Kryze and is the son of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Satine Kryze, and he may not even be aware of it. And it's not based on anything. That's definitely not what they were going for. And it kind of doesn't make sense, but I just like to think it's true.
I'm looking for that very direct callback of the alien showing back up in the sand like that.
Yeah.
There's a few moments like that in this movie where it's like it exists only entirely for the nostalgia. Like you can see the memories that got set up here that became like the norm of stuff later. And I don't blame this movie for the fact that movies afterwards kept trying to get the same energy of this and never succeeding. Like
Yeah.
you can't blame this for the fact that like every franchise tries to reboot and do nostalgia berries over and over again. Because I think this one, for the most part, does it well outside of a couple of moments like that one we just saw that I think is just very forced.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not forced. It doesn't change the plot, you know. Like who cares if that alien shows up?
Yeah.
It's just a little one-shot thing.
So what we've
Captain
learned
Phasma
now,
definitely a wasted character.
retroactively, is he's like feeling the Force for the first time, and he's just confused as fuck, right?
I mean, I don't even know if that's retroactive. The movie's called The Force Awakens, and I think it's the fact that it awakens in multiple people in multiple
Yeah.
ways. Like
Yeah.
there's more to the Force than being a Jedi, you know. And I think Finn, even in this movie, I got the sense that he was
Because I never
something
got
awakened
that.
in
I'll
him
be honest.
right in that moment.
Part of my, I guess maybe my thing with Finn of like all these people were like, oh, they were setting him up to be the Jedi's. Like I never got that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just dumb, but I was.
Yeah, and I didn't feel like they set him up to be a Jedi. I just feel like they set him up that he has this level of Force sensitivity, and that Force sensitivity is more than being a Jedi or a Sith. Like you
Hmm.
can be this average person that still is important to the Force.
All right, can I pull out a retroactive connectivity here?
Yeah,
So first time we see Rey, it's on an Imperial ship, and we see her emerge and walk out of the Imperial ship almost like she was birthed from the Empire.
that's pretty good.
Because people do a lot of that shit with the original trilogy of like, oh look, it was planned the whole time. Look at all this symbolism, like the twin sons showing that there were twins of, Luke and Leia. It's like, yeah, George Lucas definitely did not intend that on any level. Because even when there was the line, there is another in Empire Strikes Back, he was not thinking Leia and Luke were brother and sister. So if other people can do that with the original trilogy, I can do it with the sequel trilogy. Of look, Rey was just birthed, symbolism of Rey was birthed from the Empire.
I always
Do you
remember
think
that
that
shot
staff
because of the
shot?
3D.
Do you think that staff shot is meant to be like, oh, look at this staff, or do you think it was like, oh, that's a cool shot? Like, some people like,
I
oh, that was supposed to be like Plagueis' staff, and part of me's like, I don't really think they ever intended that staff to be anything.
There's no way they intended that staff to be Plagueis, but I think it was more of a cool shot, and especially because this movie has moments that were shot for 3D, and I think that was one of those ones where it's like, oh, we're gonna have this cool 3D shot where Ray sticks the
Yeah,
saber in there. And when I watched it in 3D, the crowd was like, "Whoa!" They kind of like
yeah.
reach up because they that whole saber like that right out of the screen essentially is one of the really enhanced 3D shots.
I will say there's one thing. As much as I do like this movie, there's one small change I think they could have done that really would have changed a lot of people's perspective on this trilogy. Now, there's one key scene where they could have done it, and I'll bring it up there, but I brought it up now so I won't forget.
I absolutely love Ray's theme, which we
Yeah,
just heard throughout that
yeah,
last sequence. I think that this trilogy in general is criticized for not not having a lot of original music and repeating a lot of the same motifs, and I do think that's true. They do repeat a lot, way too many of the motifs from the original trilogy in this.
yeah.
But
Right
I
here's
think Ray's theme is one that stands out.
So I want to bring up two things. Rave's theme is great. It's probably one of my favorite things from this trilogy, music-wise. But the first thing people shit on J.J. Abrams, like, oh, he's a bad director, blah blah blah. But like that moment that we just saw of like her like cleaning the thing and then like looking at that old lady who's also cleaning the thing, like he didn't have to have any dialogue or do anything. Just from that moment, we get the vibe of like Ray's like, yep, this is my life, and I'm gonna do that till I look like that old bitch. Like that's kind of
Yeah, you get the sense that she has this routine, like right here, we're getting the whole sense of her daily life.
yeah,
This is like when you get act out of a movie, it's essentially like you get their normal life and then something comes in to like change the normalcy.
yeah,
And this is a perfect like act one to her life, or getting what her routine is like, and the fact that she has this set life away from everybody else and doesn't feel like anything's ever going to change, but she has this hope still. Like she has this helmet she's going to pull up, and she has like a little doll of the resistance fighter, and she looks up at that ship going off into the sky, and I feel like she still has this level of hope that Luke had also in New
yeah,
Hope, where it's like you look to the sky and you think of the possibilities of what
yeah.
you can do with yourself.
And people like to bring up like Ray didn't know her name or like how to write because on the side of her helmet it says the letters RAE, and so people are like, oh, like she didn't even know her name. That's how she got her name from the helmet. The helmet was like a mistake. It was supposed to say R and E for the production designer's two kids whose names start with R and E. Fun fact of the day. So BB-8 for the last few months has been living on this ship or this floating station called the Colossus with this annoying piece of shit named Kazuto.
Is that from Resistance?
What? Yeah, the Colossus and all that. That's all Resistance.
Yeah.
BB-8's basically all in season one, and then Poe's like, "Yeah, I come up to pick my droid because he's kind of got to be with me in the Force Awakens." So, and then he leaves behind CB-23.
I love this. What a meta line. It's like
Yeah,
everything was a secret going into this. I always like that moment. It's like all the secrets are finally out.
yeah. See, like that, people bought that line of like, oh, like my whole thing. It's like a whole big secret of like Ray's like in on her history. To me, it was more like, yeah, I don't even know who I am type of thing. Like that's what she was implying with the whole. I mean, there was obviously the meta part too. Like that's more what it was, but I think it was also partially her being like, yeah, it's my identity's, such a secret that I don't even know.
And she knows that there's some secret to it. She knows there's like a reason her parents left her and some kind of motivation, and she
Yeah,
holds on to that hope that she wasn't just left for no reason.
yeah, yeah. Great moment. I do like how it kind of brought back some of the out resistance. Brought back some of the like visual of A New Hope. Like A New Hope was kind of the only movie that really showed blood or anything like that. Like none of the movies after that did. So I'm kind of glad they're like, oh, let's go more for that aesthetic.
Yeah, it has that grit.
And what a lot of people miss in this movie is like, because they keep referring it as the map to Luke Skywalker, but it's really the map to where Luke Skywalker was assumed to have gone. It's not like if Luke Skywalker moves, the location of the map moves as well. Out resistance, but it's just a more romanticized way of saying it. And they say it a few times,
Yeah.
like, "Oh, it's the map to where we think Luke Skywalker is," and not a direct map to Luke himself, like he has some GPS tracker on him. A BB unit. Don't
This
give
movie
up
really
hope.
knows how to introduce a character because even Hux, who's like a very modern character in the grand scheme of the sequels, gets this kind of like cool
Yeah,
Spielberg looking hero shot when he shows up, and
yeah,
I think they realized that like these characters are going to have this kind of like mythic presence in pop culture, and like Ray shows up and she has this really cool first appearance, and
yeah.
of course Finn pulling off that helmet is kind of like built up as this cool thing.
See, okay, this is what I'm talking. One of the things I think would have been very interesting with Rey's character is because she doesn't know what the Force are, really what the Jedi is. She thinks it's all like a myth or fake. I think it would have been interesting if her character basically unknowingly used the Force to survive. Like if in this moment here, she was like, "I'll give you, 5 portions for the droid," and she was like, "Oh, you'll give me," or like the part. He's like, "I'll give you 10 portions for the part," and she was just like, "You'll give me 20 portions for the part," and he was just like, oh, basically replied like, "Oh, I'll give you 20 portions for the part," and we as the audience are like, "Wait, did she just Jedi mind trick him?" And so when she meets Han, and he's like, "No, the Force is real, the Jedi are real," that's when she kind of has that moment of like maybe realizing what she has had her whole life and that she has the Force. And I think it would have made everything else better afterwards if that was more her journey of like, you have these abilities, you've been using them, and now you have to choose to use them for like the right thing instead of just like to get, kind of almost like the Spider-Man with great power comes great responsibility type of thing, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I think it would have helped for the grand scheme of the trilogy when we get ultimately Rey's not this random scavenger shows metaphor. She actually has this history to her.
Yeah.
But I do think in this movie, I like the fact that she's just
Yeah.
kind of this nobody living on the outskirts of the
Yeah.
world, and then suddenly the Force Awakens inside of her.
Yeah. See, is their dynamic the best part of this trilogy, or like one of the better parts of? I don't want to say the best part, but a top 5 part of this trilogy is their Poe and Finn's dynamic.
The problem is that they don't have anything to do after this one movie. Like they don't have much of a
Yeah, because
presence in the
they're
next one.
separate. They're essentially separated, which this isn't a knock on Kelly Marie Tran or that character or anything, because like people hate on it for dumb reasons. But I think it would have been better if it was Finn and Poe going to like Canto Bight and going on that journey together.
A romantic getaway.
Yeah, that too.
I don't care what anyone involved in the movie says, because the Poe and Finn ship is canon in my mind.
Oh, look at Game of Thrones cameo.
Yeah, we got a Game of Thrones appearance. And Oscar Isaac, I think, is a big fan of the Poe Finn
Mm.
romance. He's like talks
Huh?
about it a lot at
Wilhelm
panels
scream.
and stuff of how he wanted that to be a thing. Oh, Wilhelm scream! I got to drink for that.
Yeah, that's unofficial rule.
I think there was a panel about something, and I think it was The Last Jedi. He made a joke about how he was annoyed that his man ran off with another woman for the whole movie, and he
Uh,
didn't get to spend the time with his man.
uh,
And I was like, Oscar Isaac is definitely on Team Finn
yeah,
Poe.
yeah.
If Disney had any guts, they would have gone for it.
It would have been interesting. I'm not like against it, but I'm also one of those people that like I don't see it. But if it would have happened, I would have been like, oh, why are they putting gays in the movie? I would have been like, all right, whatever. I guess they did that. Well, I ain't using it.
He ain't using it, Joe. Not.
I love the. I think it was for the Force Awakens premiere. Samuel L. Jackson was there, and he ran up to John Boyega, and he's like, "I'm your daddy."
That's funny. People really wanted that to be true.
Yeah. I mean, it makes zero sense
Orlando.
timeline wise. I mean, that was a subplot of episode 9 of Finn thinking Lando's his dad, and then it's revealed that it's not. I told you that, right?
I probably blacked that one out.
So basically, um, we find out the reason Lando was on that planet in episode 9 is his child was kidnapped by the First Order, and so he's like stayed on that planet hoping his kid will come back one day. Um, and Finn kind of, it's never said, but Finn kind of feels like he's his kid, and like Finn's like trying to bring it up a bunch of times but doesn't. And then eventually when he's about, like, he does bring it up at the end, and Lando's like, no, I lost a daughter, not a son. And so it's heavily implied that Jana from the Rise of Skywalker is actually Lando's daughter.
Oof.
Imagine how fucking hot that would be.
I know you're in
Trailer
that
shot.
costume right there. Yeah, that first shot right out of the trailer. There has been an awakening.
Have you felt it?
The dark side of the Force. There you go, Oscar Isaac. A couple good scenes, you know.
Could you imagine that's how Oscar Isaac was in this trilogy? How different shit would be.
I know.
They're like really selling you on Poe's dead.
I know. They're like, he's definitely not coming back from there.
Yeah, all these Star Wars characters come back. He didn't. He was in a TIE fighter that sunk into the sand and then blew up. He did. R.I.P. Poe Dameron.
I'll be back in a couple of seconds. Enjoy the movie, Joe.
Alright, I'm gonna talk so much shit about you and your thoughts. Yeah, I'm just drinking whenever. Fuck the rules. Fuck your life. Bing bong. Ugh, that's a long walk. Ooh, explicit. That's how you don't get viewers on podcasts, when you label it explicit. Clone Army, drink.
Got back in time to drink.
So I know they digitally added Kylo Ren's mask in a lot of scenes because they wanted the moment of Rey telling Poe, or not Poe, Rey telling Kylo Ren to take his mask off to be the first time we see his face, and I've always been curious, like, what scenes did he have his mask off before we actually see him?
Yeah, it would actually say something about the character. Like, at what point does he perform this Kylo Ren character? At what point does he, like, be a bit more real about himself?
I mean, I
'Cause you
like
do
the
get the
choice.
sense-
I agree with the choice overall of keeping his
I do
mask on.
too.
And also,
And I think
this big monster was in Forces of Destiny short with Rey.
could I get a timestamp for you, Joe? I think it might be a couple of seconds behind you somehow.
27, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37.
I'm actually a couple of seconds ahead of you.
Car plot. You know who plays on car plot, right?
Yep. I had no idea when I watched the movie,
Me either.
but once I left, it was like, oh, all these cameos that were in that I totally missed the first time.
All of JJ's friends. Oh, that would hurt so bad.
I know, brutal.
Drink for me.
You can tell it's going to be a good movie when I already had to get another beer.
Yeah. Especially when Chewbacca shows up. Ugh, we haven't even hit
Oh
that
god,
rule.
we're going to be dead.
I haven't even noticed the Force rule. They've had to say the Force at some point.
I don't think they've said it yet.
That drink for you?
Kylo Ren's probably said it a couple of times.
We don't drink for Kylo Ren. Oh, Kylo Ren said it. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Ooh.
Good lord. It killed me.
I thought he was a myth. That's a little head on that one.
God, I do love these characters. This movie just sells me on these characters so well. Like, I'm immediately invested in both of these people.
Yeah.
And
J.J. Abrams is a
Kylo
good
Ren.
director. I'm gonna say it. People disagree. People bitch. Be like, he sucks. But like, I like him.
I don't blame him for... We'll talk about that when we get to it.
No,
But I don't
there's
blame
one.
him for the direction that this overall went.
There's one person to blame for the sequel trilogy's problems, and it's not Kathleen Kennedy, and it's not J.J. Abrams. It's someone who I still say is the best CEO Disney has had since Walt Disney himself, but he's the problem with this trilogy. Kathleen Kennedy wanted 3 years before sequel trilogy films, and a certain somebody said no every other year. They said, hey, we had a major character die in this movie, or a major actor in one of these movies die, and we also decided that the director
You know
we had
what?
ain't worth shit, and we need more time. And he was like, no more
So
time.
it's a new era, Joe. It's a new leadership in charge of Disney
Yeah,
as
'cause I
of
trust-
recently.
Because I trust Bob Chapek more than Bob Iger. You know, that's
We
what
got a Changeup as of today or so.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know.
So we got a new era for Disney. You know, who knows? Post-pandemic world.
I don't even know when we're getting our next Star Wars movie. No one does.
Who knows? It's gonna be a bit Star Wars.
I'm happy with the television we got. Television system seems to be fine.
This is the best throwback there's ever been in a Member Berry movie.
Yeah.
When she says that was garbage.
The music kicks in. Oh.
Right when it kicks in, it's like the best shot.
Like, people are like, how does she know how to fly? She's never been off-world. But to me, the way I see it is Unkar Plot used her to transport his ships around his lot. There we go. They didn't need to say it. We've seen her fly the ship around and do okay. She worked for Unkar Plot. That's what she did.
In the
You
Force
know,
Awakens dinner, and so who gives a
and the
shit?
way I see it, if I can explain away a problem with like little to no thought, I'm okay with it.
In Star Wars, if I need to, I just say the Force.
Yeah.
It's like the Force works in mysterious ways.
But it's like
They
she's
needed them to fly out of here, so they let them fly out of here. It's a
yeah,
Millennium Falcon.
yeah.
It's a holy object.
But like, okay, she's clearly been in this ship before, so my guess is she's driven it for Unkar Plot. Like she's hitting switches, doing all this. Is she the best? No, but she moves ships around for Unkar Plot. Why is
Would have
she not?
liked like a line of that or so. Something.
That's mine.
There's that shot from the trailer right
Yeah.
there. That final trailer shot.
Hot take.
Chills.
Is this the best looking Star Wars movie?
The Last Jedi is probably my favorite in
Okay, so is
terms
this
of
number two?
visuals. Probably for sure number two. I think all three of these are really, really great looking visual movies.
Yeah.
Even the Rise of Skywalker has some really
Yeah. I'm gonna turn you around on Rise
incredible
of
shots.
Skywalker. You're not gonna hate it when we watch it. When we finish watching it, you're not gonna hate it. Are you gonna say it's amazing? No, because even I don't think it's amazing. But you won't hate it.
This has easily the best action scenes in the Star Wars movie. Like this is a great chase right here. And that when we just got out of it's like this we've seen a lot of action back to back and it's all exciting. And it's also cool because we're going on 35 minutes in without seeing any of the previous characters. So like they
Yeah.
kind of built that up and like, they gave it time to build these
Yeah.
characters and to have us care about their arcs before the other characters came in.
Mhm. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Have we seen anybody yet? Even someone minor? And the answer no. We've heard references. Like obviously they've talked about Luke and Leia. Haven't brought up
This
Han yet.
chase right here is one of my favorites in Star Wars. It's
Yeah.
like one of those ones you wish you could be like in the pilot seat,
Yeah.
or like in the gunner. It's like a video game
Yeah.
scene. It's
Yeah.
just so exciting, and there's all these set pieces like within the chase,
Yeah. And I like the
and
like
she's
live.
going in and out of the Star Destroyer
Yeah. And I love the lived in world
right here.
aspect of it too. Of like the TIE fighter goes down and already these scavengers are like right there to jump on top of it and start stripping it for parts.
Yeah, they see there's a fight, and they're out there like chasing. They're like, "Oh shit, someone's about to get
Yeah.
shot down. Let's chase him down."
Yeah.
They're like ambulance chasers of Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Or like the Nightcrawler, the
Yeah.
rich Jake Gyllenhaal out there about to film these crashes for the Galactic News. They're
The Holonet.
the Holonet. I do wonder how is Ray flying like so well. Like this is not
Because
just
she
flying
moves the
well.
ships around for Unkar Plot.
Like I don't care that much because it's part of action movies. That's like in every movie like this.
Yeah.
And I think the people who got very offended about that are more offended by the fact that it was a woman doing it. You know?
Yeah, even the people that I wouldn't classify quote unquote as sexist, but if Ray was a male character, and maybe it's like subconscious sexism, but like I think if Ray was a guy, I don't think people complain about this scene at all. That's my hot take.
Yeah, like every other action movie will have like one line,
Yeah,
like a throwaway line somewhere that
yeah,
explains how they're like a randomly great assassin or something.
yeah, yeah,
Like I'm sure this has some kind of line where it's like, oh, okay, she did that. That's why she's good.
yeah.
This movie would have benefited from like one line where she's like, oh yeah, I used to, or
Hmm.
something like I don't know, some kind of throwaway line to be like, oh, that's why she's so good. But Luke didn't need that, so who cares? Like
Nah, he shot Womprats with his
he
T16.
used bullseye womp rats
With his
half that
T16.
size or whatever it was.
Yeah,
I still see that shot in 3D. That Star Destroyer shot coming out
Uh,
there, that was one of the best 3D shots I've ever seen in a theater. I'm not a big 3D fan, but that was a really good shot.
I can't wait for 3D to. 3D is basically dead at this point, and it's going to come back with Avatar 2, right? Avatar 2 is going to come back in 3D, and then every movie after that for like 5 years is going to be in 3D.
There's a handful of good 3D movies. I thought Gravity was awesome in 3D.
Doctor
I thought Life of
Strange.
Pi was really good in 3D.
Doctor Strange was good in 3D. Did you see The Walk?
I
The
didn't see
Robert
The Walk.
Zemeckis. I've only ever seen it in the theaters in 3D, and I thought it was great. But I like retroactively looking at the movie. I feel like at home on your TV, that movie probably is not great. But in
This movie
3D, it
has
was
a
cool.
handful of standout 3D moments for me. Like
Yeah.
I've been mentioning a lot that I remember. Overall, like scene to scene, it didn't have a lot of great 3D, but there's a lot of like standout shots that were really cool in the
Yeah.
3D.
See, to me, this ties fully into the dyad of like he's been seeing her his whole life.
I do that line when he says "What girl?" It's so there's so much in there. There has to be there's something in that performance that says, "I know
Yeah.
I've been dreaming about this. I've been seeing visions of this, or I've been hearing about this
Mm.
girl." So and yeah, I really like kind of thought about that line a lot after this movie because there's so much in that performance, like a recognition, and I do think even if they don't talk about it, I think Kylo Ren's been like having visions
Yeah.
of the
And,
Force in
and
some way, and
in the novelization,
seeing her.
they've been having force visions of each other basically their entire life.
I think that's a really good addition, and I wish that was present in here more.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
I do
I
love
like
the
how
BB-8
I've seen two
dynamic.
interpretations of that scene of BB-8 giving the thumbs up back. 50% of people think BB-8's giving the thumbs up back. 50% of people think BB-8's giving him the middle finger. And I like both interpretations.
I'm a thumbs up person.
I'm a thumbs up. When I initially saw it, I was a thumbs up person. I just love the fact that a lot of people saw that scene and thought BB-8 was like giving him the middle finger back.
I think the fact that Ray is scavenging a ship at the beginning shows in a way that she has this history with the technology of
Yeah,
spaceships, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I think that's a way to lampshade it.
yeah.
But of course, in the end, you just gotta say the Force, and it's literally called the Force Awakens, and it's like all of a sudden the Force, after decades, is back again. And it's like, and these two characters is kind of like acting within
Yeah.
them in a way. I think that's something that is within Star Wars, especially after watching it all chronologically. I don't know about you, but I got a sense of like the Force is a very active presence in the plot,
Yeah.
more
Yeah,
so
so
than it is in the movies than you think it is, just from watching
so
the movies.
so Pablo Hidalgo, who's like a big person over in Lucasfilm, was the one that came up with the title actually, and he said the title is not a passive title; it's an active title. He's not saying the Force awakens within Rey. It just like or whatever it happens to. It's like the Force like actively like went into Rey. Like the Force, if that makes sense. Like the Force went in and awoke Rey. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I definitely got that vibe from this. It feels like the Force is an active presence in all of these sequences. This is like, and not just in Rey. I think it's within Poe. I think it's within Han and Chewie at this
Yeah.
point right here, and I
Trailer
think
moment.
it's bringing things back together.
And I love the setup of like you've seen the trailer, you've seen everything. We all expected this to be the First Order. You know,
Hmm.
no one even seeing that shot in the trailer, like no one is expecting. Oh, this is when Han and Chewie show up. They were like, okay, this is the First Order. Maybe Han and Chewie show up to save them, but like no one was thinking like this is Han and Chewie coming on. I'm the is Han a sexist and racist that he didn't think the white woman or the black guy could be the pilot?
Yeah, he was like, "Where's the pilot? You workers!
Oh, Chewie roared. There's
Yeah,
a drink.
I found the help."
There's a moment here that I do not
Oh
like.
God, do we have to drink all every time?
Yeah, there's a moment here I do not like.
What a force line! Pretty bad. Everyone cheered though. Do I drink for rebellion?
He should have said.
No.
I think to me he should have said because if you want to stick with the whole thing of Finn is a first order now resistance, he should have said war. He should have started to say war criminal, but corrected himself to say war hero. because Finn's initial perspective of Han Solo should not be that he's a hero.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that, but that is a really good point.
He should have said like war crime and then corrected himself to hero. Okay, one per scene is an amendment that I'm making on this.
Keep saying resistance, Ray. Trying to kill me.
Okay, we're
Harrison
changing
Ford
the
is
rule.
really bringing so much to this.
Not every time Chewie talks, every time Chewie fires his bowcaster. That's the new drink.
Every time Chewie roars, we do he has to do like a full roar, like a.
Yeah, okay, we can go with that. Because I wasn't really thinking when I made the rules, okay? I was just like, what are some
You
things
look
that
at
could
that.
happen in this moment?
I'll drink to anything. You know, you don't got to give me an excuse. You see me on some of these watch-alongs, Joe.
Yeah.
This is tame for me right now. This Ratar scene is a scene that I would cut if I was the editor. I'd be like, let's not do this one.
I was so mad. Like, me and everyone me and, like, whoever else had seen the raid at this point, when they were like, the raid people are in this movie, we were like, oh, shit, fuck yeah, there's gonna be a cool fight scene, and it's just them getting eaten by these CGI monsters, and we were all just disappointed. All the raid fans were disappointed in this scene.
If I'm moving this around, I'm putting the red guys as the villagers in the opening scene, so we get like a battle more than it's a slaughter. So it's like the red guy versus stormtroopers. They ultimately all get assassinated and killed by Kylo Ren, but it's
See, I
like
keep them
you get a
here,
cool
but there's no Rathtars. It's just these guys show up to Han Solo, and Han and Rey and Finn and Chewie have to save themselves
That's a better version because there's way too much
against CGI
going on in this
monsters.
sequence.
Against CGI, like
Is it
these
Squid
guys
Game?
show up. These guys show up, and they just have to fight them. And you could get a cool
These
moment
guys look
of
cool
Chewie.
as shit.
Yeah, these guys
Look
were
at
in
those
Resistance.
costumes.
Oh, look, it's Mark Ellis.
He doesn't look that much like Mark Ellis,
He does a little
but
bit.
I definitely got the vibes. It's only because I've seen Mark Ellis' face so too many times, you know,
I've met
over
him,
the years.
you know?
Look at the eyes, you know, he doesn't have Ellis eyes.
He's like the Scottish Mark Ellis, you know?
That's what I'm thinking. He's like, if Mark Ellis was born in like Scotland,
I like
he'd look exactly like this.
Contra.
I've met Mark Ellis a handful of times.
I've only
Nice
met him
guy.
once when I was fat. Galactic
Galactic
Contra
Concha
Club.
Club.
And then the raid guys show up, and I about jizzed in my
I-
pants.
This would have been an awesome battle. These guys versus the raid guys, like these like super cheaper looking dudes who I don't even know what. But I like those red costumes.
Yeah.
I'd buy an action figure of those guys.
I like that Han Solo did, or not Han Solo, Harrison Ford didn't pull a fucking, what's his face? Bruce Willis, and just played himself in this movie. He actually like came back and he's Han Solo again. You know, where if this was Bruce Willis, he would have just showed up and been like,
Yeah, I got nervous at his first scene with Ray because he was like, "Oh, quoting the Parsec line and this and that," and I thought, "Oh no, is he just going to be saying one-liners?" But then this scene, he really sold me on. This is Han as ever, you know.
yeah, hey, have
And
I
he's
ever
grown
not
a bit, he's
delivered
matured,
before?
but he's now back to doing the same thing, and you kind of wonder like what changed because he wasn't like this at the end of Return of the Jedi. He was like a good guy, you know. He was working for the rebellion at that point, and
Well, your kid
this is almost
turning
like
to
a step
evil.
backward in his arc. So you wonder, but you don't know that at this point of watching it. You're wondering like what turned Han to this point. You know, something had to have happened that put Han away from Leia, away from Luke. Now he's kind of back on the run again. What changed? Because at this point, I don't think you know that.
No, you
haven't
don't.
got the
There's a
reveal,
reveal
so-
later that I also don't like. I wonder if this is when he broke his ankle. I had to be in this scene, right? You remember that?
I love that punch right there. That's such an Indiana Jones punch.
Where you punch him and it kind of doesn't do anything, but it kind of...
And you're like, that is not a punch. And then they play this like cartoon pop, and you're like, I love it though. You might as well have that be like a Nazi.
Also, don't think this scene is bad. It's just too long. That's the main
It's
problem.
way too long.
It's too long.
By this point, I was like, okay, we've gotten enough of this. We just got a huge long action scene, and this is kind of just a lot of filler. and they don't look that cool. They're
And it
just like
doesn't tell
they're
us
just
anything.
like
It's not.
octopus.
It's not like we learn in the scene. Oh, Ray's like a good mechanic, or Ray's like good on ships. We've learned this already, and that's really all you
And
get out of the scene.
this should be way different if it was an impressive effect, like it was a really cool practical monster or something like that, or even it's a really really good CG monster.
But it's just
But this
like
is fucking
passable. It's
boring,
not bad, but it's not like great either.
and it's boring. Like it's not interesting visually. If this was a really cool effect, I'd buy this scene more.
Yeah, this is why it should have just been Han, Chewie, Finn, and Ray. I also think Finn's character would have been better if he was more like Drax or what's his Wrecker from Bad Batch, where he's like this really good fighter, but you can still get comedy out of him because he's more just he's not like dumb, he's just more naive, I guess. And I think, and if you got that badass, and you could have got that from that scene if it was them versus
I
those
think this
guys.
entire first arc is way better if you have Poe along with the ride with them, and he's kind of that. He's a good fighter, a good pilot, but he's kind of inexperienced about like the grit of the real world in some ways.
Yeah, I
But
think
that's
that's
not
just
in
too
the end
much though.
faithful to Poe's character. But I think if it was the three of them and then they are on the run together and then they run into Han Solo, I think that's a good dynamic.
Yeah, it would have been interesting too because they know he Poe knows Han, so I mean, granted, maybe they write Poe into the scene, and maybe in the Star Wars galaxy, Poe doesn't know Han, but it wouldn't also make sense for him to work directly under Leia and not know Han, you know?
Yeah, and Poe knows that Finn is not resistance, so they would have to. I think that would be an interesting dynamic of like in some ways, for some reason or another, Poe is going along with the lie.
Yeah. Perfect Han Solo line.
Yeah, that's a good line.
Another great Han Solo. It was just JJ was on his game, or whoever wrote these lines. Or that's a drink
That's
when he pulls out
that's
the
one
orb.
of the worst throwback shots.
I didn't even catch it the first time.
It's
Like
so
that,
unnecessary.
one of like the top comments on the Reddit thread for when this movie came out was bitching about that orb, and I didn't even know what people were talking about because I had completely missed it.
I I actively like groaned. People, it was like a really quick shot, but I was like, it was one of those couple of things where I was nervous of what this movie was going
Drink.
to be. But this is really kind of better than I even. I mean, it's still great, but it's a lot less of the throwbacks and this kind of repeating the same
Hey,
things than it was
that's a
before.
throwback. That is Ilum
As I was saying it,
and drink. Oh. I still remember thinking that like Snoke was gonna be like 20 foot tall, or no, I was thinking the opposite because like I didn't realize this was a projection. Like here, I thought he was gonna be 20 foot tall, and then later when you realize it was a projection, I thought when you actually see the him in real life, I thought he was gonna be like 2 foot tall. I thought that would be amazing and like a Yoda type thing of when you actually see him, he's actually like super short.
God, I love this whole dynamic. I think
It's I mean it's straight up Palpatine, Vader, and Tarkin, and that's not bad, but I mean that's what it is. And we never got to see Palpatine and Tarkin interact. I mean, in the
I
movies.
like
Oh,
that.
right
I
here's
love.
the line I hate. Or wait, did he say? Has he told them about the droid yet? Did I
I
miss
don't
that?
think so.
Oh, right here's the line I hate. Line should have stopped right there. He did not need to say Han Solo. Number one, Kylo Ren knows who his father is, so you don't need to tell Kylo Ren. Two, if you say, well, they needed that for the audience. Well, on the ship, you have Rey, not a father. Finn, who's like 25, not going to be a father of an adult human being. Chewbacca, that's not a Wookiee. That only leaves Han Solo. And so it's like, it's just too much of like, it's definitely a line of you're underestimating your audience. They should have just said the
I
line
will,
is aboard the Millennium Falcon with your father and just stopped talking.
and then cut directly to Han sitting there in the pilot seat.
Yeah,
Because then if
exactly.
you're an idiot, you're following along.
Yeah,
Because they're like father, then it cuts to Han sitting there, and you're like, oh, it's his father.
yeah, yeah.
I will make a tiny defense of that line and
Do
say
it.
that
Do
in
it.
the original trilogy there is this element of they talk about Luke Skywalker and Anakin Skywalker is like when Palpatine is talking to Vader, he talks about Anakin Skywalker and Luke Skywalker as these distant people. He doesn't say your son Luke. He says, "Oh, it was Luke Skywalker." And when he talks about Anakin Skywalker, and he says, "Oh, Luke, the son of Anakin Skywalker."
Well,
So I wonder if that line
that's
was
because it's
intentional.
conscientious of that Anakin and Vader are two different people. Like when,
And that's why I wonder if that was
but also then
intentionally
he
done
wouldn't have
as a
said.
reference to that line.
I mean,
And I
kind of,
wonder if
but
that
then
was
if to
supposed to
keep
be a
with
throwback line in a way.
but yeah, but then to keep with consistency, it would have been he's on the aboard the Millennium Falcon with the father of Ben Solo. But like that wouldn't have made sense because no one would have connected that Kylo Ren and Ben Solo were the same person.
He probably, yeah, yeah.
I think they just should
But
have
they
stopped
were
at your
trying to
father and then
accomplish
you
a
cut
lot
to
of
Han
things
on the
in that
Falcon.
one line.
Yeah. It's just a dumb line that I don't like.
It is rough.
You board the Millennium Falcon with your father, Han Solo, because you didn't know
It
who your
cuts,
father was.
it cuts to your father to BB-8.
It cuts to Chewbacca.
He's like, oh.
All right here. Right here tells us everything we needed to know about how Luke would be in The Last Jedi, and people were mad about it. If you don't like Luke's portrayal in The Last Jedi, don't blame Ryan Johnson, blame J.J. Abrams, because he told you what was going to happen.
Or just blame yourself for having bad taste. I love that Han Solo said mumbo jumbo, though. It's a very Han Solo word that I didn't think would ever be said in Star Wars.
Yeah. And I just like how Han is basically telling Rey and Finn, hey, the Force is real, all of it, the Force, the Jedi. You know, in the exact same spot he was basically telling Luke, yeah, Jedi Force, it's all bullshit, man. All you need is a good blaster at your side, kid.
Yeah, he's essentially telling them his arc from the original trilogy, especially
Yeah.
Force Awakens, or especially New Hope. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I used to think it was nothing, and then it turns out, dang, it was all real. He's sitting there, and you can feel that he believes it because you've seen him believe it.
Yeah. Takadana. This is a great map in Battlefront 2. There's actually a mural of everyone's favorite pirate, Hondo Onaka, in the second level of Maz's castle. All
Does
right, so
Han know? Does Han know that Rey is a Palpatine? Does he know
I
the
don't think
reality
she
of the
knows.
situation?
I don't think she knows. People interpret this scene to me when she says, "I've never seen so much green in the galaxy." I think that's just Han straight up feeling bad for another human being. Because he doesn't have the Force, and I don't think he's talked to Leia yet, and Leia doesn't know until she meets Rey, according to the movie. So I think when he has that look, I think that's just like him feeling sorry for her and feeling bad for another human being. I don't think that's him connecting to her on any level beyond that. Also, in Resistance, two of the characters, because the First Order have taken over the Colossus, two of the characters are like, we're getting out of here. We're going to, or I got a friend over on Takadana that I'm going to go see. And so I'm going to look in the background and see if I can find them and have my mind blown of like that they were actually, like that's where they came up with the models for them. Oh, Hans DL44. Basic, and I like how this kind of ties into Solo because he's basically giving Rey the same offer that Woody Harrelson gave him in Solo of like, hey, take this blaster, join my crew, and Han's basically the same thing. Take my blaster, join my crew.
This is one of those moments where I feel as if they're real people, and I'm like feeling so bad about the what if of this. Like Han is about to be killed, and Rey is about to go on this terrifying journey of self-discovery and
Yeah.
loss. And it's like, what if these people would have just gone off on this adventure together? What if they were all? What if they just like went off and did this? And every time I see this scene, I get that tinge of like, God, this person is about to die,
Yeah.
and this woman is about to like go on such a terrible experience throughout these next
That
couple
line right
movies.
where he says, "Where's Jakku?" That shot of his face, the light on his face is weird. His hair looks like a wig. I'm like, was that a reshoot? But I'm like, do they really need a reshoot for him to say where's Jakku? Like his whole face, his whole hair, everything just looks off. Every time I've
I,
watched this movie, and it always throws me off for some reason. I'm like,
I do think it could be a reshoot
it
because
looks
you
like a
wonder if they reshot to add in more humor to this movie. Maybe they're like, oh, it'll be a little funny if he says, "Where's Jakku?"
And originally in the trailer, we saw this scene, and one of them was Anakin's banner from um, the pod race, and then they took it out for some reason because they were like, "Oh, we don't want people to think it's canon or whatever." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't care." But yeah, I do
You get the
like,
Mandalorian sigil up there though.
yeah, I do like how through Forces of Destiny they've connected Han back, or not Han, but Maz further back in Han's life. All right, now I'm looking in the background for like some big fat wide bitch.
Good description, huh?
She's
Like,
like, yeah, I mean, it's an alien, so I don't feel like I'm exactly being sizist. But maybe if like you look at some novel or some comic, she's like in the background off screen. And this was based off of one of J.J. Abrams' like elementary school teachers.
this scene is a bit too Cantina for me.
I don't
When you
mind
talk
it.
about repeating too many beats.
I get that. I'm not gonna like be like you're wrong. This scene's not like the cantina at all. I mean, it is, but like,
And I look at like the in Attack of the Clones, they go to that bar that is somewhat a throwback to the Cantina, but it's like a subversion. It's so different. The music
yeah.
is different. The lighting is all different. This just feels kind of the same thing.
Do you know who wrote the music for this? That the cantina's that's like playing in the cantina.
I don't.
Mr. Lin Manuel Miranda.
Ah, interesting. Did not know that. And in this movie,
Yeah, he wrote the music for like that they're playing in there.
I love that shot of Kylo Ren's mask.
Yeah. I do like the idea, like the meta-ness of them, like sitting behind the scenes writing this movie. Of like, we're never gonna beat Darth Vader as a villain. Like, no matter how good our villain is, Vader's too iconic that he will always like. Darth Vader is on another plane of existence as far as iconic villains set. No matter how great, no matter how amazing our villain is, he will never be as good as Darth Vader. So we will just write that our villain loves Darth Vader and idolizes him and tries to copy him. So like it doesn't even look like we're trying to be better than Darth Vader.
Maybe a hot take, but I think Kylo Ren is by
So
a
we now
mile the
know
most
that
interesting
Palpatine.
villain of Star Wars. I think there's not even a competition that he's the most interesting villain in Star Wars.
I get that. Like
And I like him way more than I like Darth Vader. If you're just talking the original trilogy, Darth Vader, like I think
Darth
Kylo
Vader
Ren is
doesn't
a
have
way
that
more interesting
synergy.
character that has a much more of an arc and much more of a performance.
Yeah, I mean you're not wrong, but I think as far as
He's
like iconic, like as far better portrayed and all that, like I think Kylo Ren wins. But if it's like as far as iconicness and all that, like you're never gonna defeat Darth Vader. Darth Maul's my
well,
favorite
sure.
character, but I like the story of Kylo Ren, of like this kind of tragic character that even that basically like. So I listened to this podcast, Force Center, that you know about, but this is more for the audience, hosted by Ken Knapsack, and I was listening to it today, and he's basically talking about how like the best villains are the heroes of their own story, but kind of what makes Kylo Ren so great is that he recognizes he's not the hero of his own story. He kind of knows he's doing the wrong thing, and he's trying to do the right thing, but doesn't think he can.
He's trying to convince himself that he has no
Yeah,
choice but to do the wrong thing,
yeah,
and he's
yeah,
trying to convince himself that there's no other path for him,
yeah.
and it's too late to go back. And
Yeah.
I think I can't wait to watch over the course of these two movies, his arc especially. Him and Ray are the two characters that I think, despite the quality of the movies, their arcs have been very interesting throughout all three of these movies. So I'm really excited to see these play out.
Yeah. You don't know me. Also, I would love for you. I know you're kind of on my side on this, so this is really a fake question. Point out the moment to me where Finn gives a fuck about or gives a fuck about joining the Resistance and not just saving Rey. Because I can't wait for someone to point that moment out to me in this movie.
I'll show you. It's coming.
All right.
We got like an hour probably before we get there, but
To where Finn actually cares about
I'll
the
make an
resistance
argument.
itself. All right, you do that.
Yes. I'll just point you to a moment that I'm thinking of that I think points to Finn actually caring about the resistance.
All right. Has Han ever been more disappointed in anyone in his life than Finn in that moment? See, okay, now that we know, like, Maz is Force sensitive, I feel like she just feels the Force in Rey, and she's like, okay, if the Force is that strong in Rey, there's got to be something up with her.
Yeah.
Drink for you.
He's not resistance, Joe.
Because it's a story about found family. Drink for me. I can't wait to watch The Last Jedi tomorrow.
The the best Star Wars movie.
That's inaccurate.
Probably number 2 on my ranking.
Fake news.
Number 1 for me is also Return of the Jedi, which deeply improved upon rewatch of the whole saga for me.
Yeah.
It went from okay to oh, this is actually incredible. Like as a culmination of everything retroactively, I think it's a great one. But yeah, Last Jedi, I can't wait to watch. This scene. I can't. This is one of my favorite scenes. This in the theater was like immediately got my mind racing to what this meant and what was next and who all these people were to each other and yeah, now knowing where it goes, I'm excited to watch this again. Actually,
If anyone happens to be watching along, I'll give you a timestamp right now. We're at 104.40, 104.41, 42, 43, 44.
Ray's about to have her vastly discussed Force vision.
And everyone's like, Luke's lightsaber called out to her. She's a Skywalker. Not to talk too much about other things, but Kanan's lightsaber called out to Ezra Bridger. That happened before this movie came out, so you don't need to
J.J.
be.
Abrams has never watched anything outside of.
Yeah,
You mentioned Rebels. J.J. Abrams, he laughs in your face, Joe.
yeah.
He's like,
But
"What
I'm
is
just
Rebels?"
saying, in Star Wars canon, blood relatives. Also, Obi-Wan Kenobi had that lightsaber longer than either Skywalker, so that was part of. For the longest time until The Last Jedi came out, I was convinced that Rey was a Kenobi. It's our first shot of Luke in this trilogy. And that same actress goes on to play young Sylvie in the Loki TV series.
No, shit. Still a great sequence.
I'm still convinced
It's
the
just mysterious enough. What a perfect J.J. Abrams
mm,
sequence.
yeah. I'm still convinced the only reason her name is Rey is because they could splice out the "Don't be afraid" from A New Hope, um, to get the Rey to get old Obi-Wan to say her name in the flashback.
So, any thoughts on that vision? How do you feel that fits into the now answers that we gotten of Ray's past and how that all plays out?
I think it does for the most part because Force visions are never supposed to be 100% accurate and all that. It's always like mind interpretations and shit. So I think to an it does. It would have been cool to like retroactively like see like Ochi's face or something in there, but it is what it is. It's just like Ray's. I think it's just all of Ray's fears, culminating her fear of when she lost her parents, and now her kind of present fear of Kylo Ren, kind of all mashed together into one Force vision. Do you think okay if everything was mapped out from the beginning, we 100% see Palpatine in that Force vision, right? Like
For sure. We hear at least his laugh.
yeah, like it ends with his laugh.
And I think that scene would have been a lot better with just a little bit more context. We get a little bit more of, okay, here's what happened with Kylo Ren. Here's Luke's village. Here's the people being trained, and here's Kylo Ren killing them. And I think a little bit more literal of what happened would have been nice
Yeah,
because if you were following the theories, I think that scene makes sense. But if you're just an outsider looking at, I don't think you get that Kylo Ren was a student of Luke and Kylo Ren turned against the people and Kylo Ren
yeah,
killed them. I don't think you get that from that vision.
yeah,
And I think that vision should have been where you got that from. I think that vision should
yeah,
have given a lot more context to what the overall storyline of these characters was, and especially Kylo Ren and Luke. And I think that could have given us a better idea of what the overall stakes were of Luke
yeah,
Skywalker and Kylo Ren and their connection to each other, and
yeah.
why it was important to get back to Luke specifically.
All right. Do you think we do a thing that would have been cool of Poe or not Poe? Um, Kylo Ren is somewhere and they have Force visions at the same time, and so maybe you see Kylo Ren in flashback of him with Luke and all that, and you see both. You're cutting between like Rey where she is, Kylo where he is, and then both of their Force visions, but you're not really sure whose Force vision is what. It's all just kind of one crazy amalgamation of stuff. And so
That could
then,
have been very cool, and then it could have teased that connection between the two of them that we get in the next movie.
yeah. And so you're not sure whose Force vision is what. Hell yeah, First Order.
They definitely timed that out. They were like, we got to make sure we know exactly what his last word is, so we can all do the fist at the same time. We got to know what
Yeah.
he's done.
Hitler salute, but not fully. It's more just like dial your hand back a little bit and make a fist. But like the symbolism is there, people will get it. Also, this is dumb. Whenever people bring up science in Star Wars as like an attack on why a scene is dumb, I normally will just say you're dumb. Science has never really been a part of Star Wars consistently. But this makes zero sense on any level. To a
There's
point.
no reason that these planets are not Coruscant and Naboo and planets that we know
And
to
also,
really
like, how
hammer
does
home
he
the
see
impact.
this from the sky? And, like. But I guess
I
this
mean,
ties
sure,
back to his force, and it's like, okay, he's hearing these screams just like Obi-Wan did in A New Hope. So I'm okay with that, I guess, now, but, like, I think this is Hosnian Prime, and see that hairy guy on the left? That is Chancellor Viltrum. Or not Viltrum, I don't remember what. Viltrum or Valorum. Maybe that is Viltrum. Either way, that was
big
Chancellor of
mistake
the
to make.
Republic.
Big mistake to make these random planets. There's zero emotional impact here. There's not even a single second of caring. Like they're playing this music like you're supposed to care, but I definitely don't feel like. I mean, in the context of reading the books and knowing that the weight of Hosnian and Prime, I care a bit plot wise, but in terms of like the emotional arc of this movie, what is this random planet that's never been mentioned before
Yeah.
with random people on it?
Yeah. It's like JJ was like, okay, they blew up Alderaan and A New Hope. Well, what's better than blowing up one planet? Blowing up five planets.
And we've had no time with this new world. Like we don't understand
We
why
don't
that's
understand
important. We
that's
don't
the
understand
yeah, we
the
didn't
stakes
know.
of the world right now.
Yeah, we didn't know that the chancellor just died. First of all,
Yeah, we definitely should have gotten at least scenes at the Hosnian Prime at the beginning of this movie with
there
Leia maybe
was
doing political stuff.
there was scenes that they filmed that they deleted because they
Of course
didn't
there
think
was.
they needed them. That's another big gripe with that movie. They should have had where basically Leia's like, "Hey, First Order's real. They're a threat. We need an army to take them out." And the government's like, "No, because if we build an army, that's too much like the Empire, and the Empire is bad, and we don't want to be like the Empire."
Yeah, I think this movie is a bit obsessed with its own iconography, and it sometimes at the cost of its own story, it wants to build up this big reveal of Leia or Han,
Yeah.
and it would have been a much nicer story if just from the beginning we got a better idea of what was even happening right now. Like, who is the First Order? What is the Resistance? What happened between Return of the Jedi and now? What is the difference between this and the Empire? This feels exactly like the world we just left. If you're just watching the movies, you have no idea why this is any different than what we just left behind.
Yeah.
The stormtroopers are literally almost exactly the same. Like, they could have easily not had stormtroopers,
Yeah.
but they did that because they wanted the nostalgia of the stormtrooper.
Yeah.
Kylo Ren, there are no complaints.
Kylo Ren's the best, man. For anyone watching right now, we are at 113, 29, 30, 31, 32. That's 113, 33, 34. Boom. Anyone that's never watched our drink-alongs before, after about halfway through the movie, we say, fuck the rules and just drink whenever.
We just keep drinking.
Also,
He
pay
likes it.
attention to the bowcaster lighting up everyone it hits, launches them like 30 feet in the air, because that's going to be important later.
Do we drink for the traitor?
Yeah. We
Probably
drink,
the iconic, one of the most iconic like memes of the movie
yeah, because
at
of
that
some
point.
dumb random extra that tried to sell that he was the actor, and everyone was like, "You're not," and then it was proven he was not. How do you feel about the switch of like, this should have been Phasma?
For sure, because Phasma's a nothing character in this whole trilogy.
Yeah,
They bring her back in the next one, and it's like for no reason,
yeah.
pretty much, because it's like they just have her fight Ben and die again, and it's like okay, might as well not have even had that. You could have at least had that be Phasma, and now it's Phasma saying like Finn, I recognize you. Come back to the First Order. Then they duel or something.
That was a trailer moment too of all of them with their hands above their heads or behind their heads, I guess rather.
Right there, and then the Poe Dameron ship coming across
Yeah,
here.
with the black and orange X-wing.
One of my favorite trailer shots of
Yeah.
of, of the sequel era.
That was a big like print you could buy too of his X-wing over the water. I don't know if it was officially licensed. I'm gonna guess not, but you could still buy it.
I like that Poe is just like alive. They didn't even really try to tell you wow. They're like somehow Poe returned.
Yeah. They tell you later on. He says he got launched further away. Because I remember there's a lot of dumb moments where like Finn sees Poe fly. He's like, "Oh, that's a good fighter right there. Like, look at that guy fly. He's pretty fucking good." And you're just like, "All right,
Yeah.
shut up."
And I like that moment too where the X-Wing is so accurate it can shoot the stormtrooper off of Han Solo's shoulder. Like, I don't know what force sensitive pilot is that making that accurate of a shot.
Oh, look at that
It's a
pilot.
pretty intense shot right there.
He hasn't said it yet, but he's about to say it. Or he says that's one hell of a pilot. That's what he says. There you go. It's like, all right, we get it.
He's very good at piloting.
He's a pilot. You know what else is a good pilot? The pilot of
Ray.
House. That was a good pilot.
Oh, Lost, good pilot for
Lost,
Lost.
good pilot. Game of Thrones, okay pilot.
Pilot,
They
yeah,
edited
bad
two
pilot
pilots
actually.
together.
Yeah,
They edited two
yeah,
pilots
but
together. See, Kylo Ren's crossguard loses its effect in this movie compared to the trailer because we see it here. Where like the Darth Maul one, the moment you see it in the trailer where it extends, it's the first time you see the double blade in the movie too. Where here we've seen the crossguard, so when he lights it on Starkiller Base, it's like we've seen it, bro. Calm down.
still cool.
Yeah.
Still the coolest lightsaber in Star Wars. You
Darth
know,
Maul's lightsaber is better.
Darth Maul's is like, what if we just took the one and then we just like did another one? You know, and
Kylo
Kylo
Ren's
Ren's
like,
has
what
like
if
a
we took the
practical.
main parts and made them side parts?
Darth Maul's lightsaber is like the most impractical lightsaber in all of Star Wars.
It's a fucking
Kylo Ren's
staff.
actually
People
has
fight
a,
with
has a
staffs
real
all the
reason
time.
for
It's
it.
called bow staffs. No, no.
Are you a Raylo shipper, Joe?
I don't give a fuck about them. I'm one of those people. I don't care either way. I'm not against it. I'm not for it.
There's a lot of sexual energy in this trilogy that never gets
Kylo Ren wants
fully
to tap that
examined.
ass. It's also weird. How are we not talking about the fact he's 29 and she's 19? Kylo Ren's the R. Kelly of Star Wars universe.
Jake Gyllenhaal of this movie.
Yeah. Also, Han Solo and Princess Leia were 29 and 19 when they met, and no one wants to talk about that.
19 is you're an adult. You know, you can make
Okay.
decisions for yourself.
We should have known they were gonna have a romantic relationship when they had when they were the exact same ages as when Han and Leia met. Use the Force, dummy.
JJ Abrams
Just
saw
pull
that
the ship
take.
down.
JJ saw that take of Ray and he was like, "What if he just said that for the entire last movie? Like that was his
Yeah.
whole dialogue.
Yeah.
He just yelled Ray."
And he had
He was
something
like,
to tell her, I guess. I don't know.
Oh my god, it's gonna be a rough watch.
I'm gonna get you to come around on that movie. Oh, that's a drink.
Ugh. Here comes we got a drink for Carrie Fisher for Leia.
She's never looked
Yeah.
hotter than in this moment. Harrison Ford's like, I used to tap that in the 70s.
C-3PO.
You didn't recognize him because of his red arm.
C-3PO got the biggest reaction from me when I watched it in the theater.
Was it a negative one? Because it should
A
have
full
been.
belly laugh. I love C-3PO. He's the funniest
C-3PO?
character in Star Wars.
C-3PO is the worst character in Star Wars. Pound for pound, the worst. Jar Jar Binks is worst, but he's in less scenes. C-3PO's in every fucking movie, and he's garbage, and I hate him.
Every line from 3PO is funny.
Every line from C-3PO makes me want to put a bullet between my eyeballs.
Look at that hug. Or was that at the end of the movie?
When he walks by her and doesn't hug her.
Yep.
Leia's like, yeah, bitch, I have the Force. I felt him here, you dumb motherfucker. This is why I'm the general and you're a pilot. This is giving me some Return of the Jedi energy. I'm a drink.
Remember that leaked image from this where people were swearing on the grave Adam Driver was in the X-Wing pilot costume here, not Oscar Isaac?
Yeah.
This is one of the first images that leaked from the set, and people, including myself, were convinced that we had Adam Driver as a. And I'm not even sure if they didn't leaked that on purpose or something like that because it looked like Adam Driver in this costume here, and it had people convinced for a while that he was going to be a good guy going into the movie.
Yeah, because this was like inside Llewellyn Davis time where he wasn't really known. All right.
Well, I mean, yeah, Inside Llewyn Davis definitely put him on the map of people, but he wasn't like a household name, you
Yeah, it's
know.
crazy how like all of these people blew up kind of. I mean, Oscar Isaac and what's his face.
No, look at that, the sexiest shot in Star Wars until we get to the next movie.
All right. The sexiest shot in Star Wars is when Hera and Kanan kiss at the towards the end of the run of Rebels, or just any shot of Jake Lloyd.
very, very sexually charged.
And that Lieutenant Connix is the character kind of standing behind Leia that is actually played by Billy Lloyd, Carrie Fisher's daughter, in real life.
Really good in American Horror Story. One of the shining stars of that bad
Her
show
greatest role,
that's turned bad.
her greatest role though, in
Booksmart.
exactly Booksmart as the fucking drug fiend.
She was great. I love to see more of her in Star Wars.
I need to watch Booksmart again. It's been a while.
Her next movie looks really good. Harry Styles is in it.
Fuck Harry
Florence
Styles.
Pugh.
Fuck Florence Pugh. She can't act her way out of a paper bag.
Jeez, Joe's coming in with some hot takes.
Nah, she's good.
Roasting all the up and coming
This moment's
stars.
dumb. Oh look, it's R2. Who gives a fuck? Oh, he's
R2.
sleeping. R2 sleepy. Fuck off. C-3PO sucks.
R2D2 and 3PO are the best characters in Star Wars. Outside of Kylo Ren, who is number one character.
That's just a bad take.
It's very doubtful, but it's definitely there. 3PO did no shit.
The story of how C-3PO got his red arm is like sad.
I read that comic because I was like, I need to know.
It was sad. And not in like a, oh, that's badly written, like it's sad that they came out. Like, no, it like is sad. There's too much Vader in him. She's not wrong. She's not wrong.
If only we gotten more context of what they're talking about in the Force Vision scene and didn't have to like go frame by frame to understand what happened.
Yeah.
But J.J. Abrams left his mystery box. You know, you can't just answer questions. You have to just throw questions at the wall until something maybe eventually sticks.
Yeah. J.J. Abrams, good director. Hot take. 2009 Star Trek is the second best Star Trek movie of all time. Best one is Star Trek Beyond.
I liked Into Darkness a lot, actually.
Alright,
I
well,
thought
that's
that was
just
pretty
a
good.
terrible take. No one likes Into Darkness. But everyone knows Star Wars is better than Star Trek. The worst thing to ever come from Star Wars is better than the best thing to ever come from Star Trek. I'm only
Look, I
saying
mean,
this.
Star Trek as a TV show is great. Star Trek movies, you've got like a couple of good ones, and then you've got some really just outright terrible ones. You know, like Star Trek V worse than any of these movies. There's a lot of Star Trek sequels that are
Star
beyond,
Trek First Contact makes me want
beyond
to
the
fucking
Star
cut
Wars
my dick
prequel.
off and feed it to an alligator.
And there's so many of them. Like you talk about Star Wars going on too long.
Yeah.
How many shows, how many movies has there been?
Yeah, Star Trek just needs to end.
And how many of them are good?
You know what's a dumb decision?
Some?
Getting a Star Trek tattoo. Who would ever do that? Fucking morons.
Just destroy people.
So my friend Jordan, who's been on the podcast, is a big Star Trek fan, and he's messaging me that he's watching this. So I'm just talking shit. I'm gonna bring him on. Hold up, give me a minute. Gonna do. So I was just like, I'm gonna rail on Star Trek. No, 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 no. Fucking wet finger. Sorry, everyone watching.
The heat going down here. I don't know. I don't
got
know what you're watching because there's some heat.
I went
I was
away.
just in I was in some Raylo mode. Joe, you interrupted a private moment here. I was getting invested in the canon. The canon
People are seeing
ship.
my. People are seeing my Facebook. I don't care. It's worth it. See the weird shit I'm into.
He sees the island. Is he seeing the future? Is he seeing the past, or is the past and
He's
the
saying
future all
he's
kind
seeing
of the
the
same thing
ocean.
in the
People talk.
Force?
He's seeing the ocean. He's seeing Luke Skywalker.
Is he seeing Luke Skywalker, or is he seeing like the future of Rey that will soon be at that same place, the island,
Either
the
way, he's
ocean?
saying Octo. Octo. We'll see. Oh, the confidence.
I love it.
I like the.
Immediately got me invested in the dynamic of this. Look, we got a guest.
What the hell is wrong with your computer, dude?
It's very Star Trek for you to have a feed like that.
What up?
What up? What's wrong with your camera, bro?
I don't know what's wrong with it.
What's not
You look
wrong
like
with
you're in
it?
the video drum right now.
Yeah.
I'm just using my phone because I got the TV with the movie. I've got the laptop with the actual Twitch stream. I guess I could, since I'm fucking part of it, I could just do that. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh shit, that is weird. I am looking at it. That is weird.
Yeah.
All right, hold up.
Captain Pike sucks. No one likes him. Alright, back to this movie and not Jordan's dumb shit. So basically in Star Wars, one of the things that they are in this movie that they never explain is like basically Rey just force downloaded all of Kylo Ren's training through their like dyad, which is not explained at all, which is dumb.
Because I think they definitely both connected to each other in that moment, and that's kind of the birth of, in the context of this, I guess, the birth of their connection to each other. But
Yeah.
yeah, you get the sense that he downloaded information from her, but she also got stuff from him.
Yeah.
And now they're forever connected.
Yeah. You give me everything. Wrong movie, but her to me. Andy Serkis crushed it. Best Andy Serkis role? Go.
Best Andy Circus role. I mean, performance-wise, is probably Gollum, but I think in terms of the actual effects and the capturing of the effects, Caesar is something else.
Alfred Pennyworth in the upcoming The Batman. You know who plays this guy, right?
Sure. Daniel Craig walking in there. We got our Bond cameo.
Bond cameo.
Rest in peace, brother.
Hurry up, Jordan, you bum. I think he just realized he doesn't have a camera on his laptop.
It doesn't look like him. He's giving a good vocal performance. A lot of cameos. They just come in there and they give the lines.
Yeah.
But you generally wouldn't know that was him if you didn't tell me. I don't think.
I'm still not convinced. See, would this scene have been better if, like, we had another Force Vision during their connection and he saw? Alright. Hello?
Okay, so absolutely no idea why my video just will absolutely not pick up for any reason, but
Oh, well. It doesn't look like you're having a fucking seizure over there, which is better than nothing, so.
Joe, that's really offensive to people that have seizures.
Yeah, Joe.
I don't care.
What up, Tristan?
What's up? I'm enjoying my Star Wars watch along, but
You almost said Star Trek.
I know I was about to say it. I was like, no, it's in my brain now.
Not
I
that
did
it's
read.
important, but it is obviously a Star Trek reference to my display name there.
Yeah, Captain Pike sucks.
Never heard
Bruce
of it.
Greenwood is a terrible actor.
I was Captain Pike for Halloween one year.
Yeah, nerd.
Pre being burned to shit.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, I just don't know that the science of pulling energy from a star to fuel a planet works, so that's my big gripe with this.
Anyone that talks about science and Star Wars can go fuck right off. Whoops. So it might be our Twitch stream and actual stream might be off. We're at 132, 26, 27, 28, 29.
I love this scene when they're like, "It's not the Death Star, guys. It's bigger than the
It's
Death Star."
bigger. It's different.
It's like
Don't worry,
it's like
'cause
a
it's
whole
bigger.
big thing.
Yeah.
We also got an
that's-
appearance from Wexley, I believe his name is, from the Aftermath novels.
Snap Wexley, who is actually Wedge Antilles' stepson, and also played by Greg Grunberg, who is he's a known actor. He was on Heroes, which is basically where I know him from. But childhood friend of J.J. Abrams. Like, they've known each other since they were, like, little kids.
Yeah, regular
Heroes
appearance
was
in
good.
JJ stuff.
Yeah. Heroes Season 1 was some of the best television ever, and then it kind of went to shit because of the writer's strike.
Yeah. Save the cheerleader, save the world.
That first season was so good.
There was another show like that on Fox at the time. I can't remember what the fuck it was called.
There was one that was really cool called No Ordinary Family that was basically...
Fringe.
Fringe
Was awesome. One of my favorite shows of all time. Still.
Really?
The show that made me discover podcasting. Like, I looked up Fringe and I was trying to find a community around it, and there was a podcast about Fringe, and I started watching that, and that was what made me discover this whole online world of podcasting and like internet fandom around things like that. So yeah, I love Fringe. I watched that week to week from episode 1 all the way on.
I watched the first season and I don't remember why, but that's it. And I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember loving it.
I know it's one of those shows where, like, am I wrong, Tris? You would know more than me that, like, people are like, season 1 through 3 is amazing, and then it kind of falls off after that, or was it one?
It makes a big shift, but if you buy the shift, I think you'll be into it. And it's one of those shows that was constantly vying for ratings and constantly trying to not get canceled. And then in the end, did get a final season, so I like that it got to wrap up. And of course, you get a J.J. Abrams. Speaking of J.J. Abrams, involved, he's a producer. He directed the pilot, I believe. He was involved in the show from the early on and never quite didn't stick around, but he was part of like the mystery ensemble of setting it up from the beginning.
Yeah.
Definitely a pivotal show for me personally in my media consumption.
Yeah, I like good shows like Cobra Kai, which is coming back December 31st. So, bye-bye, Jordan, I guess. He was like, fuck Tristan and his Fringe opinions.
Yeah, he was like, he likes Fringe,
he's
get him
back
out
now.
of here.
He's back
I
now.
didn't do anything.
Oh. Well, you left for some reason. I brought you back.
This scene definitely
It's
hits.
weird. It's not letting me do the camera thing. That's fine. I don't need my ugly mug on the internet.
No one wants to see your face.
That's enough. That's all I needed. She has her powers. She's testing them. They're getting better. That's all you gotta say.
Yep.
People get mad like, oh, why is she so powerful? And it's like, because she is. And they just said that she is. So who?
Star Wars.
It's part of the
people,
plot.
Fans of Star Wars hold it up to like this Godfather level of like moviedom. It's not. It's like on par with the first Pirates movie. All right, which is good. I love it. But like, it's not like this amazing cinematic, well-written masterpiece. You know.
Maybe the last jump ever, Joe.
God,
You know, I'll be honest. I was one of the complainers about how like Rey went from nothing to just being able to do like everything. And then I remembered that in the Phantom Menace they did the Force running, and then no one's literally ever even fucking talked about it ever again. And I'm like, I guess that shit just happens.
Yeah, here's an
Force
idea.
just
George
works,
Lucas
you know?
is not that great of a filmmaker. He's a fucking one-hit wonder.
He's a good filmmaker, not a great storyteller.
No,
Yeah.
I would say the opposite. He's
Get
a good
somebody else in
storyteller.
there to
He's
write the
not a good
story.
filmmaker.
I think in every sci-fi movie, show, TV series, everything ever, there's a spaceship that almost goes off a cliff on a planet.
but just
Even
doesn't barely.
even in Fast and Furious 7, there's the bus that almost goes off. So.
Oh yeah, I can think of like 4 different scenes in a bunch of Star Trek media where like the Enterprise crashes on a ship or Voyager crashes on a ship.
I know
or
it doesn't
whatever.
beyond the best Star Trek movie.
Like, I'm not going to talk to you about that because I'm not going to, prove you wrong on the internet for people to come back and look at.
Yeah, okay.
I liked Beyond. I thought it was the most faithful to the original series in terms of its story and its characters and the aliens. And
yeah, I actually agree with you. I like Beyond the best of the 3.
I will give you the best of the 3 just because I haven't really. I've seen Star Trek First Contact, which is good, and I've seen like Wrath of Khan, and I've seen Nemesis. But of those ones, I enjoy Beyond the most.
Look, I like the 3 Kelvin timeline movies. I really do. They're good movies. I think number 3 is the best.
The second one sucks.
Second one's not great.
Yeah, Tristan, what's your opinion on the second one?
They're entertaining.
Before you came in, I said I was a big fan of Into Darkness. It might be my favorite of the 3.
No, I heard that part. God, I don't remember when I first started watching, but I heard all the Star Trek shit talking.
Yeah. Well, because you had messaged me and you like I saw that you were on, so I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna talk shit about Star Trek and no one else cares, but I'm gonna find it entertaining. So why wouldn't I do it?
Yeah. Yeah. First Contact, definitely the best of the Star Trek movies.
Yeah. I know that was your opinion. That's why I said it sucked.
Yeah.
You couldn't possibly tell me that Star Trek V is better than the Star Wars prequels. Like there's the worst of Star Trek movies is so much worse than the worst of Star Wars movies.
Oh my God, there's some super bad ones like The Undiscovered Country, fucking awful movie.
I think it was last year for April Fool's Day, a podcast I follow, Bald Move, did a 24-hour marathon of all the Star Trek movies back to back on Twitch. So I watched all the Star Trek movies at that day. I stayed up for an entire day and watched them all. Between the original movies and then the Next Generation movies. So I've seen them all.
Star Trek
but
the motion picture is really bad too.
Yeah.
I kind of like that one too. Very 2001.
All right,
Space
Tristan,
Odyssey.
what movie did you really love last year that everyone on our podcast shit on you for because the movie sucked?
Last year in 2020?
Yeah, a certain movie with Taylor Swift. No, not Taylor Swift. No, yeah, maybe Taylor Swift. James Corden, Ian McKellen.
2019's iconic musical hit Cats.
Yeah. How many times did you see that movie?
10, maybe.
Okay.
Oh my God, are you okay?
I'll probably watch it again now that you mention it.
Did they pay you to watch the movie that many times?
No, I paid to watch that actually. A handful of times.
You like the cat buttholes, huh?
Look, I like getting really drunk and watching Cats.
Alright, so is anyone else jumping on my theory that when J.J. Abrams made this movie, he intended for Rey to be a Kenobi? There's too much Kenobi, symbolism here. For me, not.
Well, I don't know if it was on purpose or not. I think just because we're so accustomed to a Kenobi in the movies, they probably wrote it that way.
Because, you have her crawling around in the, Death Star. You have the, so if you look up...
Troopers there.
If you look up Obi-Wan Kenobi, if you Google image search Obi-Wan Kenobi, not test footage, concept art. Obi-Wan Kenobi concept art from Phantom Menace. His costume is identical to what Rey wears at the end of the movie when she's walking up to Luke. And then you have just... Obi-Wan's the main one that talks to her during her Force vision. I'm convinced that when J.J. Abrams made this movie that his intention was Rey was a Kenobi.
I'm convinced that he threw a little bit of Skywalker, a little bit of Kenobi, a little bit of this and that in there, so that whoever picked it up after him could have ran with whatever they wanted to run with.
Yeah.
And I think that's what J.J. Abrams does best. I think he really does a great job of setting up mysteries, setting up ideas, and everything I've watched from him pilot-wise has been really fascinating. And whether or not that show paid off or not, it doesn't really depend on him. But I think he sets up mysteries really well.
If I were to be I need a director here to kick off a franchise. If I were hey, I'm making the next Bond. We're restarting Bond. J.J. Abrams is the guy I'm going to. I'm not saying he's the guy that's going to direct all of them. he's the guy that's gonna kick it off.
Michael Bay obviously would be.
And
the
I
correct
would have
choice for
I would have picked
007.
JJ to pick when we were doing our Bond pitches. I would have picked JJ for one of them, but I knew Johnny hated him so much that I'm like that would be a dumb choice. But it would have where my heart would have led would have been to pick
Johnny
JJ.
would have found your choice problematic.
Yeah. I believe Tristan's camera died, so it's just me now that you're stuck looking at, unfortunately. And I'm still waiting for someone to point out the moment where Finn cares about the First Order and not just Rey, or not the First Order, but the Resistance.
It's coming,
not
Joe. We're
just
gonna
Rey.
get to it. It's coming up in the forest. We got a
Finn
battle
the
coming up.
biggest simp in Star Wars?
Poe or Finn?
Finn.
Finn will simp for anything near him. He simps for Poe, he simps for Rey, and the next movie he simps for what's her face?
Rose.
Rose Tico. Yep.
I mean, look, he's only simping because he's in love with Poe, and
Maybe.
he has these other women around him that are in love with him. But in reality, he has his true love back at the base.
I have a question legitimately about this scene.
Yeah.
How are they on an entire planet that is just one massive Imperial base and they are just freely walking around?
They're
actually
preoccupied
called
taking
Ilum?
out the ships. Yeah, number one, it's called Ilum, first of all. Two, you don't know shit about Star Wars, Jordan. You think you
You're
know
right, I
about
have
Thrawn?
nothing.
You think you know
What's
about...
that? That's an Ewok, right?
Yeah, that's an Ewok. But don't ask dumb questions, Jordan, okay? First of all.
Why did they make Luke black in this one?
Yeah, I don't know.
Would have been woke.
I still think it would have been dope if J.J. Abrams went to his original idea. Luke flips his hood back, and his eyes are like white and glossed over, and it's like very clear that Luke is blind, and then that's just how the movie ends.
Why would Luke be blind?
Who knows? It would have been interesting. It would have been different, but eventually,
Best
J.J.
twist would have been
decided
Luke takes the
against
lightsaber, kind of looks at it for a second, ignites it, and kills Rey. And you're like, oh my god, Luke's gone evil. He looks in the camera, his eyes are kind of like gone red like Anakin's did, and then he cuts the credits, and you're like, oh my god, Luke's the bad guy. And the next one is you have that cliffhanger, like Luke is evil. Luke's gone evil.
Yeah.
And then the whole movie is just, see, I'm the second Skywalker to kill a Palpatine.
And then in the sequel, you get that he knew she was Palpatine, and he had some kind of force vision of, oh, she was going to turn bad, so I had to kill her.
I'd sim for Adam Driver.
I mean, I always do.
Yeah. That shirtless scene in The Last Jedi, I'm afraid of what Tristan's going to do when that pops up.
Ben Swallow.
Ben Swallow. Qui-Gon Jinn.
Oh. Broby-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan. Broda.
Oh.
There's too many ones that rhyme with yo, because you can do Bro Dameron.
Han Brolo.
Han Brolo. Leia Brorgano.
Kybro Ren.
Kyber Ren. How does Kylo just not sense Han here? And also, what's
Maybe it's
what's with the First Order and the Empire not designing like ledges? They're just like, we don't need one over this big chasm. Like, if you fall, you fall. It's on you.
no OSHA.
Yeah. Ben Swallow, nice.
Beautiful.
Custom built.
I love the fan comic. I mean, it's spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie of Chewbacca. After he kills Han, Chewbacca has Ben's bowcaster pointed at Kylo Ren's head, and then he has a flashback to like him meeting Ben like right after Leia's given birth, and then a moment of like a young Ben calling him Uncle Chewie and like bouncing him on his lap, and then he tilts it down to like his kidney. I'm like, I like it. It's never a thing that would ever be canon, but I respect it.
Would it be interesting if this was the first time we saw his face?
Yeah.
Han says that I want to see the face of my son, and then we kind of get this reveal of the face, and it's it's just a kid. It's just like a,
Yeah.
you think it's going to be some big
He's
reveal.
29
and
years
it's
old.
just,
He's a fucking
he's
man.
not a kid, but he's like this. He's just a normal person. I think that's kind of a reveal of.
Chewie should have just taken the shot.
Yeah. Do it now, bitch. Hairy ass bitch.
I still want to know what a Wookiee penis looks like.
Is it a red rocket like a dog penis, or is it like a human penis? We will never know.
No, it's like a gorilla dick. It's just a fucking small little hairy chode.
Okay.
You guarantee that's what Kylo Ren based his lightsaber off of? He was like, I've seen this. I've seen Chewie at night.
Wait, it forks out like that?
That.
It's like a duck cock.
Oh god.
Here's Kylo making the wrong choice. He will ultimately make a different choice in a future movie.
That's why I like the line of like, I need your help because I don't have
a hair product for Kylo Ren.
Yeah. I don't have the strength, but I know what I have to do. In the back of his mind, what he knows he has to do is throw the lightsaber away. But he gives into the dark side and fucking stabs his dad in the stomach.
So you think the easier decision was to kill Dad instead of throw the lightsaber away?
When you're that deep in the dark side, yeah. But kind of, I think when he's like, I know what I have to do, but I don't think I have the strength. Part of his mind is like, what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength. Is like, give up the dark side, throw the lightsaber away, and join the light side again. But
and I think a lot of Kylo Ren's identity is based around the fact that he doesn't think he can return back from where he is now. He thinks he's done too much wrong and he can't go back. And he doesn't want to go back because if he does, he has to kind of face the reality of what he's done, the people he's hurt, the people he's killed. And he lives on this reality that, there is no hope. And right now he gets, like, you literally get the light going out and him thinking, like, oh, that's right, I am the dark side. There is no changing me. This is the turning point right here.
I was still a believer after I watched this scene that he was because he doesn't have like the Sith eyes or anything, that he was actually a double agent, and that like Han killed himself essentially. And then like once I rewatched the scene on like Blu-ray, I was like, okay, no, that's definitely not what happened. But like that was a big theory going around, is that Kylo Ren was actually a double agent, and it was actually still on the light side, but he's basically like, I have to kill you because if I don't, Snoke's gonna be pissed, and he's probably gonna figure out what's what. But obviously, clearly, that's not what they were going for.
You can feel the weight of that, and I think Harrison Ford gives a great performance in that, just in that look of that shock and that sadness. Like he looks in the face of his son and realizes, like, I've gone this wrong,
You know what we really need? Another Indiana Jones movie with Harrison Ford as the lead.
Yeah, that's what we're getting, bro. With a 90-year-old Indiana Jones.
Fuck yeah.
We need a trilogy, I think.
I want to know what the hell is up with that movie. Like, there's no way, like, Indiana Jones is going to be out there fighting people, right? Like, they have to do, like, the whole Raiders aspect where he's, like, taking a group of college students out and they're the ones that are going to do most of the fighting and not him, right?
Maybe he'll just be like the general, you know what I mean? Like there's other little Indiana Jones running around, and he's just like telling them what to do and shit.
That makes the most sense, cause like I can't
see him de-age him,
I hope not. Oh, that'd be so bad.
Make him look like Luke Skywalker from Mandalorian.
The thing is, I trust James Mangold in 2021. I trust James Mangold to make an Indiana Jones movie more than I trust Steven Spielberg.
I can't believe Spielberg's even still alive.
He's not that old.
No, I know.
About to win Best Director.
Yeah, probably for that movie.
Who's the oldest director to win Best Director?
Who knows? Probably Steven Spielberg in about 6 months, or not that long. He is 74 years old.
Hey, do we have a canon explanation as to why Kylo had to build his own saber and it was fucking shitty?
His kyber. Well, he built his kyber crystal is cracked, and that's why his saber is shitty. So the oldest director to win Best Director is Clint Eastwood at 74 years, 272 days. So what movie would that have been for? $1 Million Baby, maybe?
Gran Torino?
He wouldn't have won for Gran Torino.
No,
$1 Million
it wasn't
Baby
that
up in
good.
2004. Next one was Roman Polanski for The Pianist.
Rough in it. Hindsight, you know.
Here's
Good
the
movie, though.
thing. Everyone's like, how did Kylo Ren not kill Poe here? At number one, we have to understand that Poe's probably had combat training. Two, if you were to put me in the octagon with Conor McGregor, he either knocks me out or I tap out, and I'm going to guess under 10 seconds. However, if I shoot him in the kidney with a Desert Eagle first, I like my odds pretty good.
After just having suffered an emotional trauma.
Yeah.
I also get the sense in a way that Kylo Ren, like, especially in the last battle, like they had that little fight and
Yeah.
he was just kind of laying on the ground and Kylo was ready to just walk away and be like, "You're nothing to me." Like,
Yeah, he was toying. He was toying with Finn for a while, and then when Finn got a shot on him, that's when he's like, "All right, I'm ending this."
Yeah, and as soon as you see that he let go, Poe didn't stand a chance. I mean, Finn didn't stand a chance. You know, Kylo Ren immediately just knocked him right out.
Yeah, like Kylo Ren is legitimately dying right now.
Great shot.
Yeah, I know.
When she
Like
catches that lightsaber.
everyone says, "Oh, it should have been Luke." Even Mark Hamill's like, "Oh, it should have been Luke." But like number one, Mark Hamill thought Return of the Jedi should have ended with him with a mohawk putting on Darth Vader's helmet. So his opinions on what should happen in Star Wars can go right out the fucking window.
If it was Luke, that would have been terrible. There's no reason
Yeah.
for Luke to be there. It makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
like
it's actually built up in the movie and the character for it to be Rey.
yeah. To have Luke name checked but no one hint that he's ever anywhere near here would be very bad.
I feel like back on the whole Finn going, I don't want to say toe to toe with Kylo Ren there, lightsaber battle, but we know he's force sensitive. We don't know yet, but we know he is.
It's hinted at now. Like there's moments now where I can see it where I'm like, oh, I get it now. Where you can hear the cries of the people when Starkiller Base like blows up all of these planets. Like you can hear the cries, and it's from Finn's perspective. So you're like, okay, maybe he's hearing those cries like Obi-Wan did. So it's like, okay, maybe there are hints, but
yeah.
I'm
just saying, like he, we've seen a couple other times in different Star Wars media that like Force users have a definite advantage wielding a lightsaber. So he's probably not actively tapping into the Force or whatever, but he's definitely trusting whatever instinct it's giving him.
Yeah.
I actually never really bitched about that scene too much.
I wasn't either, but like a lot of people do, and I like to bitch about people that bitch about Star Wars.
I love that battle, actually, that snow battle.
This is definitely my least favorite trilogy.
Oh, you're just dumb with
Me
dumb
too.
opinions. You're both dumb with dumb opinions. It's different because, like, okay, if you were to rank like overall story, right? I think it goes. I mean, the original trilogy wins both ways, but overall story, I think it goes original trilogy, prequel trilogy, sequel trilogy. If you were to rate the movies individually, just as movies themselves, I think it goes original trilogy, sequel trilogy, prequel trilogy.
Definitely, because you have the Attack of the Clones.
And Phantom Menace are both not great. Attack of the Clones is garbage. And Phantom Menace
I'm willing to forgive Phantom Menace because it was the first movie in however many years, and they had to tackle a whole new, like, okay, what are we gonna do here? Number 2 had no excuse to be as bad as it was.
I still say if I could go back and do one thing, I would tell George Lucas, make Anakin 15 and cast Jake Gyllenhaal.
People argue about this scene and say, why is Rey like standing
a
up
nice
against
fucking
Kylo Ren?
stab.
And
That is a Palpatine stab right there. That's the look on her face. The penetration forward is the exact same thing Sheev Palpatine did to Mace Windu and those two other guys in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
it's there. But people get mad about this scene and like, how is Rey fighting Kylo Ren? And you watch it now and
dying.
she's not. Like, she's not fighting him. She's like barely surviving. She's running away a lot of this fight, and she's like defending herself and running.
He's literally dying. She's dripping
She's
blood.
barely ever on the offensive. Like, she's always on the defensive. She's always running. You don't get the sense that she's all of a sudden beating Kylo Ren. You get the sense that she has enough power to defend herself and not get immediately killed, but she's not like beating him.
Do we have an explanation as to why Kylo Ren's eyes don't change, or is he just not like?
I think part of it is, I mean, number one is just the aesthetic of it, but two is more like his split character. He's never fully delved into the dark side, like all the way. He's like, cause like Snoke has the line in The Last Jedi of like, you killed your father and it still didn't fully delve you into the dark side. Your spirits or your soul or spirit, whatever he says, is split to the bone. And I think that's what it is. He's never 100% dark side. He's always like that 50-50. Not to say balance, because people try to interpret balance of the Force as using both light and dark, but it's not what it means. But he's always kind of hot. He straddles that line of light and dark.
I thought the explanation was that it was stupid that their eyes changed color, so they didn't do it anymore.
Yeah, that's also accurate.
Also, yes.
But I love the effect of the lightsabers like melting the snow when they get close to it, and this hero shot of Rey, you feel that, you know that Kylo Ren's not down, but you feel like she just barely squeezed her way into a victory, and Kylo Ren is like shocked at this. Yeah. Something cosmic is happening here at this level,
Yeah.
And of course, the Earth splits like an inch away from where they're standing, for the most dramatic effect possible.
Yeah.
Good thing they weren't like 1 inch forward of each other.
Yeah, they'd have the epic victory, and she would just collapse into the earth and die.
Is that fat nerd?
That's Rambo Rillian, First Order officer. I don't know. I made up a name. This is the first time I realized like he was like.
What's the need to have a giant hologram projection?
Because
so
I talked about this at the beginning when I first watched this movie. I thought when we finally saw his character, he was going to be like 2 feet tall. I thought that was going to be his thing. He wanted people to think he was like this big important thing, but really he's like fucking like not Gar Saxon, but that frog guy from that shitty droid arc in the Clone Wars.
Joe, where were you when this movie came out?
Look a shot.
I was living in Michigan because it was December 2015.
Yeah, I'm just surprised. Well, I guess I was living at home at the time too.
I was in the south side of Chicago.
The baddest part of town. Did you ever run into bad Leroy Brown?
No,
baddest man in the old
not
damn
anytime
town.
soon.
Just thought I'd ask.
Who the fuck rescued Kylo Ren?
The First Order.
Of course.
So this whole time they were just watching him get his ass fucking kicked, and they were like, "All right, let's get him now."
Yeah, look at this guy.
I still say Starkiller Base should have been a ship. It would have been less like lame if it was a ship.
Yeah, I think you're right, Joe. I think I would have had less gripes about it personally.
If it was a ship that could shoot lasers and destroy planets.
In that last battle, there's literally a trench run, and like they fly away as it explodes into a sun. Like it's almost exactly the same. Why was there a trench run? They couldn't think of anything else other. Like it could have been a base with some other way of taking it down, but they had a trench run. They couldn't have thought of some other mechanic that would have been a good twist of like, oh, you think it's gonna be a trench run, then they lose, and they got to do some other way to take it down. Maybe Rey and Kylo Ren, they're in the inside. Rey and Finn, they got to take it down from the inside now because the trench run failed, and it's like, oh, now the stakes are higher because Rey has to do it herself, or Finn has to do it by himself, something like that.
Yeah. Maybe that's when Poe dies. He drives just into the center of it and blows his ship up and destroys the planet.
Yeah, how come we don't have many kamikazes?
Well, there's one in the next movie that people have a problem with. But if you watch all of Star Wars, they're like, hey, be careful when you go into hyperspace because you can crash into some shit and that could fuck shit up. And then they say, hey, what if we crash into shit and fuck shit up? And people are like, wait, what? They never said that could happen in Star Wars.
We had 2 kamikazes in the next movie. One narrowly escaped, but can't wait to talk about both of them.
That's true.
Oh, look at this.
R2-D2, The Force Awakens. That was what the title was about. It means R2-D2, he's the Force.
Yeah.
He awakens.
Force Awakens, ... R2.
Yeah. He's been here since day one, you know?
I feel like at the end of the day, there's still technology. It's a robot. So why couldn't they just be like, all right, someone override the fuck out of his program and boot his ass up?
Yeah.
Yeah, get the data. Just pull out
Leia's got too much of an
put a USB
attachment. She
drive in
sees him
there.
as a person.
I like that Star Wars treats droids as these like really developed people and important when they want to, but then other stuff it's like, yeah, you can just kill the droids, they don't matter. Like
Well, the thing
the
that's
battle
kind of
droids, they're nothing.
the thing that's consistent for them, I mean, okay, outside of the battle droids, is the good guys see droids as people. The bad guys see droids as machines.
I guess I'm a bad guy.
I love that they're like, oh my god, we have to go straight. We never would have guessed that. Like the map isn't even isn't even a surprise. It's like just go a little bit forward, you'll find them there.
So does that map and like calibrate the fact that like all of the stars and all of everything is just rotating around each other constantly? So like his planet is like on this corner of the galaxy, and then like a month later it's like way over on another corner of the galaxy because so much shit's revolving around each other.
Yeah, but it doesn't move that quickly. Like we're still in real life in the same general quadrant of the galaxy that we've been for, like thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
True.
If you're moving at hyperspeed, that is plot speed, if I remember correctly, in the canon.
Yeah, Pablo
So you can
Hidalgo
go.
said that hyperspeed moves at the speed of plot because they're like, we're not about to try to fucking math that shit out. That already doesn't make sense. They basically looked at George Lucas's map of the planets and compared it to hyperspace to try to like figure out how long hyperspace takes, and they're like, this don't make no sense at all on any level. So hyperspace moves at the speed of plot. However long it needs you to take to get to somewhere is however long it takes.
I was immediately in love with Rey as a character, and I was so invested in the arc. Her and Kylo Ren, God, I'm still into it. Like, I wondered if their arc, knowing that it kind of plops, in my opinion, at the end, but I still really like it from here, and I think it's a great setup of their characters and their connection, and they have these dueling origin stories, and we know Rey's a Palpatine, and that she has this dark past too. So I think this is almost retroactively a bit better because of Rise of Skywalker. We now know that Rey also has this dark past, and I think it gives a bit more context to some of what's going on here. And you've made a couple of points about like things here and there that connect to Rey being a Palpatine and Rey having this dark energy behind her. So I'm liking this one. Still up there for me.
So I'm sharing my screen so you guys can see it. Tell me that thing on the right. It's hard to kind of see a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
We're
Um,
also
it
getting
works.
it's not exactly. Well, I clicked on the wrong shit. You can see it, right?
yeah.
Yeah, she even has the braiding in the guy's ponytail.
Yeah, like that is Obi-Wan Kenobi concept art from the Phantom Menace. Tell me that's not exactly what Rey's wearing right now.
I feel like some of that though is just drawn out of necessity, Joe. They're like, oh god, we have to design a new character. Ah, fuck it, use this. We never used this before.
Yeah.
I love this music here. It brings all the scores together. And Ray's theme is in there. It brings a lot of the other stuff from the other movies together, but it's very, very prominently new stuff.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. I think this is one of the better works of the sequel trilogy here.
Yeah.
My favorite part about this movie was all the slutty rays that next Halloween.
Yeah.
True.
That was-
This feels even cooler knowing that, like, in the next movie we see those locations more, and like that's where she walks around in trains, and like now she's kind of just discovering them for the first time. And there he is, Jar Jar Binks.
What if it turned around and it was somebody else, not Luke Skywalker?
Would have been awesome.
Like it was
Would've
just a
been such a
character
good
we don't.
twist.
It was like Wedge Antilles.
It's one of those moments that I'll never forget watching this for the first time.
I feel feel like if I'm gonna abandon myself on a desolate island in the middle of like the Pacific Ocean, so I'm away from society, nobody can find me. I'm not still gonna wear my work clothes that I've been wearing for the last.
So there's a canon reason he's wearing this right now. I can
Of
tell you.
course there is.
All right, Joe, hit me.
So he's about to burn the tree down with
Oh
the
my
books. He's about to burn the tree. He's like, the Jedi Order needs to wear it. And so because it's like this big ceremonial thing of like ending the Jedi, he puts on his Jedi robes, and that's what he's about to do, is burn the tree down and burn the books that he talks about in The Last Jedi. And so he puts on his robes again, and like right when he's about to burn down the tree is when Rey shows up.
I love this shot here. It's so, like I talked
It's
about,
a literal
like, the mythical
cliffhanger.
elements of it, and yeah, like you end with this like big state, like it's almost like you feel like it's very like a thematic final shot of like finally having hope and reaching out, and it's like it's not about him taking it or not. It's about like the fact that they believed enough to get there to that point, and like that she went from being this nothing on this planet in the middle of nowhere to having this one final moment of reaching out and saying like, please help us, we need you.
Yeah.
Wonder what happens next.
I know what happens next. He says, "Fuck your lightsaber, bitch."
You should have just stabbed her with it.
He should have. He should have said, "Fuck you. I saw my daddy killed a Palpatine. It's my turn now." And my daddy technically didn't even kill a Palpatine.
Cry and be a pussy and run away at some point.
Yeah. He's like, my daddy.
Unless you're Rey.
I tried to kill Palpatine and failed. I'm gonna do it for real this time.
Joe, do you have any thoughts now that you're moving your way into the sequel era? Anything that stood out to you on your rewatch? Anything that was better or worse now that you've seen
Not
everything
really.
together?
It's hard it's hard, especially for the movies, when I've seen like this one so many times, where it's like I know what to expect, like beat for beat, like line for line. Like, yeah, it's what I remember. I saw it like 6 months ago, and it's the same movie I saw then. It's also hard when there's so much of a gap, because like you go from there's like basically a 15, like 20-year gap almost between the end of The Mandalorian and Resistance, and that's one of the things I'll bring up in our kind of retrospective of my watch through. It's just like when there's so much of a gap, it just feels so different. Like we haven't. The last time I saw Luke was him saving Grogu in The Mandalorian. I haven't seen Han since Return of the Jedi. I haven't seen. I mean, Leia shows up in Resistance, and I guess it's like, and she's like barely there. Poe, I guess, feels like the same Poe, but they wrote that Poe after this version of Poe, so it's like it connects, but like there's nothing else really. Like there's no reason why it wouldn't, or it's so far away that it, like, even if it doesn't connect, it's like, oh well, it's 15 years, 20 years later.
There are definitely elements here that stand out to me, and I think especially in the Kylo Ren arc, I think that's one that for me gets the most lost as we get especially into the last movie. And Rey, for me, her arc, the found family stuff stood out to me the most in this rewatch, and the fact, especially for Finn, and that he had this family
You never
that
pointed
he didn't
out that
know,
moment.
and he was left behind. And that was kind of the moment I was talking about. Is like he talks about how he had this family, but he lost it, and now he has this new family. There's something to believe in. Finally, he thought he was part of this big conglomerate, nothing, and then he found this family to believe in. And I thought that family is the resistance. That family is like to believe in good, to believe in hope, to believe in the light side, essentially the Force, and like that kind of draws it all together. So for me, that was the moment that I thought Finn for once comes and realized like, oh, this actually is something to fight for here. And then the next movie, kind of, he starts to question it, and I think that's perfectly fine and in character for him to question that. But I do think like that's a moment for him in the movie where he kind of realizes like, oh, I believe in something. But yeah, I do think the found family aspect is really prominent here. And Finn has that moment where he says like, I had nothing, and now I have you guys. And Rey had nothing, and now she has them. And I'm curious to see, because that was something you talked a lot about in Rise of Skywalker, the found family that played into the element of Rey's storyline in particular. So I can't wait to see if that is in the next one and how that plays all together. But that's something I noticed here that I didn't notice the first time.
So Jordan, you hated this movie when you first saw it. You're like, it's a remake of A New Hope. So I mean, you've seen it since, but does our drunk ramblings affect your viewing of this movie? I've drank, let's see, these are 16 ounces, so 1632. I drank 48 ounces of beer during this movie. So
I think I was mostly just disappointed by my like when I saw it in theaters and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think that um, the disappointment of I don't know. I guess what I really expected. I expected. I don't know. I guess I don't know necessarily what I was expecting. I just thought it would be different. So I was disappointed coming out of the gate. But the few times I've rewatched it, I have to admit that it's better than I gave it credit for in my initial watch in the
Yeah.
theater.
Yeah, like one of the things I said from when we started this movie is I think in broad strokes it is like A New Hope, but once you get past those broad strokes, it's a very different movie. It's like, okay, sure, it's a desert planet, and like, okay, sure, there's the moment of Poe putting the information in a droid just like Leia did, and okay, yeah, I guess there's the like circular, spherical base they have to blow up at the end, but like outside of that, I feel like it's a very different movie. So.
Yeah, I think the basic structure is very New Hope, but everything around it is different, and you feel like that's used in a way to kind of just bring these characters back to life. And the plot is not the important part of this particular movie. Like that, the plot is just there to give them something to do for the characters, and I think the characters is where this movie really shines. Kylo Ren, Rey, Finn, Poe, those are all really developed and interesting characters in a movie that could have just been serviceable characters that get you to the characters you already know. And the fact that they built these characters so well. And I left this movie for the first time, and every time I've watched it, not thinking about, oh, what's going to happen next for Leia, what's going to happen next for Luke. I thought, what's going to happen next for Rey, what's going to happen next for Kylo Ren, what's next for Finn, what's next for Poe. And I think that's really impressive for this movie. That could have just been memories altogether. Could have just been, oh, here's Luke, here's Han, here's Leia doing the exact same thing, the exact same way they always did it. Nothing's changed. It's all the same. And I really commend them for building up these characters and making me care about them going into the next movie.
Yep. All right. Anyone have final thoughts?
The next movie's better than this one.
Yes, it is. It's a lot better.
Yeah, well, people have dumb opinions.
I really feel Joe.
All right. So I guess that's all we have to say. And without further ado, goodbye.
Hey, thank you for watching the Movie Changeup podcast. We'd really appreciate if you liked, commented, subscribed, and shared us with anyone you think might be into what we're doing over here. Thank you. Have a nice day.